Well, we're back here live on Eurosport 2, and, well, the checkered flag is only a few hours away. Let's have a look. Well, it's, less than 2 hours away now before we find out who will be the winner of this 79th edition of the 24-hour Le Mans car race. Johnny Herbert's with me. We've also got Mr. Le Mans himself, Tom Christiansen. Tom, good to have you here.
Thank you.
First question is, of course, there's a lot of disappointment regarding, your race, because within 1 hour, the terrible accident with Alan McNeish, and then obviously afterwards we had the Audi 1. Just tell us how they are, Alan McNeish and Mike Rockenfeller.
Most important is both are relatively okay. They have pain, there's no doubt, and Alan is blue quite a lot everywhere around the pelvis. He has some pain, but nothing is broken, and he will be ready to race at next race. There's no doubt about that. Mike is similar, a little bit chest pain, a little bit right. The right leg is the problem there, but it just shows you how good the cockpit is, how safe it is, because both accidents were absolutely terrifying. But I think the human aspect of watching Dr. Ulrich, that was he lived every of all the fans, the tears in the eyes in these moments where you don't know what's happening to your driver. And right after the emotion, and he knows that Alan is well and Rocky is well. Yeah. He then asks about the spectators and what happened to in any photographers. He asked about journalists, but he meant photographers.
Sure.
And it's tough, but we still have
it's nice compassion to have.
Certainly.
No, that's, I mean, it's horrible to see these incidents, but at the same time, the safety of your two drivers is the main thing. But again, you can thank Audi team for putting together such a, wonderful security and, great cars. Now, let's talk about the race a little bit. We have to look at what's happening here. I mean, it's a major tussle. It's the Audi 2 that's still in the race, of course, up against all of these Peugeots. The big battle was, it was built up for so long. Every year it's the same, and it's still there. But, Audi 2 flying the flag. We've got Lotterer in there at the moment on the slick tyres. Now, just give us an update of what the situation is and, how things are, with the Audi team at the moment.
It's very good. All three drivers are doing a fantastic job. The focus is on them. That's clearly, and for a driver, that's good. Everyone is working for the organization. It's worrying because you only have one car. But for the drivers, it's working perfectly, and they're doing really fast and consistent stints, all three drivers. And now there was a bit of rain, and obviously on the slick, but that's the best to be because it will dry out again. And you saw, I think this Peugeot, what you saw in the picture, is putting back slicks again. So everything looks like Audi is doing the right thing. The car, they're extremely happy with the car. But of course, you are a little bit extra cautious when you are having their advantage like Audi has at the moment. Peugeot can be more aggressive. They are more aggressive. So I'd say, the fight is still on. And it's still spitting a little bit. But still, as we know, it's a long lap. So it's spitting here. It's completely dry down the Hunedé and Mulsanne.
Yeah, sure. Well, as you know, Tom, from your wealth of experience, Mr. Le Mans,
I'm not as old as you, Johnny.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? That's really nice. Anyway, glossing over that, as I am very aware, and as I always put across to Audi, and of course you have done with all your experience, and like you said, it's a team that everybody is working for one goal, but everybody's working together. You can share your experiences, and that's very important.
Yeah, I think starting with Dr. Ulrich, the way the human aspect into it, he makes sure that all the drivers are equally treated, equal confidence in that sense, and that's very important. That boils down to all the mechanics and engineers, that it's an aspect that if we win and we lose together. So yes, emotion of two cars out is then putting just extra into the one we have left, and only one car can be at the top of the podium. And for us at Audi, we hope it's gonna be us.
Absolutely.
It's as though you've got 60 mechanics working for the same team now, so I mean, it's a good thing, of course.
Yeah, but it's the same. I mean, that's true, but it is the group of the number 2 mechanics who is doing the work on it. There's just a lot of support in the garage, but out in the pit lane, it's just the crew of number 2, and they are doing a hell of a job.
Sure, and I think a lot of credit has to go to Peugeot as well, because they've done a very good job after the big disappointment of last year, and they are making this an absolutely cracking, fantastic mega race. So it's not finished, as we know, Well, I think the last couple of hours are going to be pretty immense, and it's going to be intense. I think you can see the faces already changing in the little pitch perches down there. You can see Dr. Ulrich, and the same with Olivier down in the Peugeot. It's really getting tense, which is great.
That's what it's racing is all about. And
Yeah.
I mean, the fight between Audi and Peugeot, it's has a lot of respect between the both parties. And now it goes down the wire like that. Yes, Audi has the upper hand, but it's only one car. So strategically, there can be played friendly games. And obviously, we're hoping everything is running clean to the checker in that sense, and I think the fight bodes well for what we now will go into for the future, an FIA World Championship, including the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That's great news for any sports car fan, and we as drivers, when we get over this one, we will very much look forward and prepare for the future, and maybe I can do a little bit more driving than I've done this weekend.
Yeah, well, it would be nice to see you on track, that's
No,
for sure.
absolutely.
And the good thing about this race as well, it could be actually closer than the battle we had back in 2004, which is absolutely fantastic as well. I think it ended up about 40 seconds when we did that year, but this could be even closer.
This could be even closer, and for the fans, you know, it is that
for
it's
sure.
two different manufacturers. We were in a different team, but similar cars with the Audi R8, and that we know how intense that is. But this one is very clearly to explain to the viewers that you have they had two car manufacturers competing. You will have some discussions in different languages on the fan base, and that's what it's all about. It's about passion for the racing, emotions for trying to overcome Le Mans and to win. The best car will always win.
Absolutely.
And in a few hours we know who it will be.
Absolutely. Well, Tom Christensen, thanks very much for coming and having this little chat. You know, it's never easy afterwards, after what happened, of course, but give our regards again to Rocky and Alan, you know, from myself, Johnny, and the whole team at Eurosport. And, you know, we'll see you around, and we'll see you back next year, hopefully for victory number 9.
Great question. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Tom.
Yeah.
Well,
Bye-bye.
that's it.
Have a rest.
It's already come back, John. So that's it for the time being. But the commentators will take over less than 2 hours before the checkered flag. It's heating up, Johnny. It really is. We've got another edition of 24 Minutes coming up just after we find out who's won at 3:15. So we've got a couple of hours of epic motorsport action taking place here at Le Mans. Back to the commentators.
Well, guys, what on earth have you been doing since I've been away? I think the curse of the commentators has come in because I've just arrived back in the booth. There's been all sorts of action. BMW number 55 has retired. A big crash from Pescarolo. I still haven't seen how that happened. I just saw the aftermath of that. And the weather just seems to keep changing. We hear there's more rain now on the Mulsanne Straight. That's the trouble with Le Mans. We keep saying that. It's such a big circuit. There can be rain in half the track and not on the rest. So it's down to picking tires and the drivers, you know, being as smart as they can.
Well, that's the trouble, that's the delight. For those of you who are just joining us, here is the story. We're on board with Audi number 2. This is the car that leads the race. It's the only Audi remaining. If you didn't see any of yesterday's coverage, shame on you, shame on us for not making sure you knew it was here. But the number 3 Audi of Alan Manish crashed heavily at the end of the first hour of the race. An enormous accident. He is okay. And then in the darkness, the car of Mike Rockenfeller, Audi number 1, also had a massive high-speed shunt. He too, incredibly, given the severity of the accident, is A-OK. So Audi are down to 1 car. And in this intermittent spots of rain, little bit of drizzle, dry track, he is being chased down by all 3 remaining Peugeots. Simon Pagenaud is second in car number 9. Car number 8, Nick Minassian in 3rd place. And in 4th place is car number 7, Marc Genet. And the Peugeots, with 3 different cars, Jeremy, had the option to try different tyre choices, and Minassian's been going very quickly, catching the leader fast in 3rd on an intermediate tyre.
Yes, but he made a pit stop just a couple of laps ago, did Nick Minassian, in that number 8 car in 3rd place, and he also changed tyres on that stop as well. I'm pretty sure he changed back to full slick tyres.
Well, I think we're going to see if the rain stops, because it's kind of a weird, thick, spitting rain. If that breaks up, then we could see a slick situation again. We'll be back with you very soon. Stay with us. Le Mans 24 hours.
Wimbledon just down the road, the men get a taste of summer. But never mind the strawberries and cream, what they all want the most is to be the king of Queens. Today at 1700, the ATP final from Queens in London on Eurosport.
Michelin, a better way forward.
Back live to Eurosport's coverage of the Le Mans 24 Hours. We're in the final hour and 48 minutes. Andre Lotterer leads for Audi. In front of him, you can see not only a GT class Porsche, but the Peugeot of Marc Genet. Car number 7 is several laps down after being crashed earlier in the night, or in the early hours of the morning, by Alexander Wurz. Anthony Davidson was then in the car and being used by Peugeot to back up car number 2, the race leader, Andre Lotterer. Now Marc Genet is in the same position. He's in front of the race leader, and if he can just ease his pace off enough to cost Lotterer a second or 3 or 4 or 5 a lap, but not allow him to get by, then that allows the chasing 2 cars of Simon Pagenaud and Nick Minassian to close. And we think they might need that, because we think they may both still be on an intermediate tyre. And at the moment, well, here's the way it is. Andre Lotterer, we know, is still on slicks. He did not change tyres. Last lap of 3:35, 3 minutes 35. Pagenaud in second did a 3 minutes 34. Minassian in third, we know it absolutely was on intermediates, a 3 minutes 35. And Genet, we think, on a slick, a 3 minute 36. So very little to choose between them at the moment, but there's an hour and 45 to go.
There is, and Andre Lotterer, we reckon, needs one full pit stop for full tank of fuel, and another pit stop for about 2/3 of a tank of fuel, whereas the Peugeot of Simon Pagenaud, car number 9, in second place, I reckon needs 2 full loads of fuel to make it to the end of this race, as we are right now.
And I think Simon might be on intermediates. We were just discussing that, because when I was off, I was watching the times carefully, and when it was raining a little bit harder, he was doing significantly faster times than Andrew Lotterer was able to do, which would suggest to me, we knew Lotterer had stayed on the slick tyre, which I thought was probably the best gamble at that point, because, you know, Audi, I'm sure, was weighing up the weather and saying, is it going to rain more, isn't it? And this could be their opportunity to rein back in those extra fuel stops they've had to do.
Yeah, I think Simon is on slicks. The last time around, he didn't stop last time. I misinformed you there, Liz, while we were talking. I was looking at the wrong chart. It was number 7 car. We couldn't quite see what tyres went on that during its last stop, so my apologies for misleading you there. Nick Minassian, as you say, he did go to inters and then now back to slicks, we are pretty sure, but we do think Simon is on slick tyres.
Oak Racing's drivers are reporting that although the rain has predominantly stopped on the track, some corners are wetter than others. There would be a good example, the Dunlop Bridge. Don't forget, that is car number 7. That is the Peugeot that was trying to hold up the Audi, making a big mistake there in the GT cars. But number 7 still in front of that Audi. Wolfgang Ulrich, the boss of Audi's racing program, with a few more things to think about in the next hour and 45.
And that Peugeot then taking a very tight line into the Dunlop curves there, Liz Halliday, trying to pass a couple of GT cars, and that kind of put him offline in the middle of that corner.
It did, and I think what we're seeing there is it's still a little bit slippery on the track. It is quite polished there, and also once you get onto those painted surfaces, it's literally like ice. And look at the battle we have here. You can barely even see the number 2 car behind the Peugeot. He's so close.
This is exactly.
Oh my God!
This is absolutely appalling.
This is exactly what happened with Anthony Davidson earlier on.
Absolutely
about an hour and a half ago. Frank Montani was driving number 8 car and was crassly blocking. This is appalling.
This is absolutely unacceptable.
If this was a battle for the lead, we'd be going, come on boys, have at it. How many laps behind is Peugeot number 7?
This is
the race
ridiculous.
leader?
Dr. Ulrich needs to go down to that paddock and have a serious chat with the bosses.
I would like to. And in fact, we have seen it before that Wolfgang Ulrich has left the pits and walked all the way down to Peugeot and made a very obvious point about the fact that he is having a quiet and gentlemanly word. Car number 2 was penalised, or was warned about going off track a couple of hours ago, 3 hours ago, in the early morning, because he was, in fact, he's now gone by. He's gone by Peugeot number 7.
We saw the onboard camera. The Peugeot was actively trying to put him in the grass on the Mulsanne straight. I mean, that's just absolutely unacceptable.
Again, even in a battle for the lead, there are certain things that you can do, and as a racing driver you can't do. When you are 4 or 5 laps behind, actually, That's really not acceptable
And they
under
should get
any
a
way.
warning for that. They absolutely should get a warning. I don't think it'll happen.
For those of us that feel we're too biased towards Audi, look at this incident and then tell us why Peugeot should not get a warning. This is not a lead battle. All right, that's the incident where the Audi gets by.
Yes, and makes his point.
Yeah, without hitting him, without chopping him, without impeding him, but just to let him know. Yeah.
Dr. Ulrich holding it in there. You can see, I think he's literally on the edge of his seat there with that one. I mean, I would be furious if I was him.
Yeah.
It's not professional driving.
Again, we talked about this 5 minutes ago. You know, we get flustered, we get all het up. Audi are very, very calm. They are the last panickers on planet Earth. If there's a meteor an hour away, I'm going to find out what Audi's plan is, because that's going to be the good one. But still, you know, these guys in car number 2, they know they are the only car Audi has. They are the only chance. If somehow it goes wrong, that's it. All bets are off. At the moment, somehow Lotterer could win this race, can win this race. But my goodness, that's an indication of how easily it could go wrong.
We just saw a glimpse of Olivier Quinel there, the sporting director for Peugeot. Well, sporting director, not very sporting director in my opinion, being interviewed there by the French language station. I hope we get that interview in English as well, because I'd love to hear what Quinel has to say about that.
He looked a little bit sheepish, I think. Yes. I mean, it's not really on, is it? I mean, especially being someone who's being lapped, it's just unacceptable.
If you don't look embarrassed about it when you know the car is several laps down and you did that before, then I'm afraid.
Imagine if that had caused the sort of accident we saw with Rockenfeller earlier. It could have done. Could have done.
Absolutely.
Especially in these conditions when the grass is more slippery, the paint's slippery.
Yeah. Again, let's not forget, you know, that two, in fact, 3 or 4 drivers have survived very major accidents already this weekend. Some very, very big impacts. And you're absolutely right, Liz. You know, on the Mulsanne straight here, the cars are both very close together in pace. You know, there's not more than 3 or 4 miles an hour between them. But they are doing 190 miles an hour to 200 miles an hour. You know, we are not talking about 60 miles an hour and a bit of motorway road rage. We are talking about an accident, if it happened, that would be an absolute plane crash. And the Audi just making sure that there was enough room alongside the Corvette before he fully committed himself. And good work by the Corvette driver there to breathe a little and allow them both to survive.
And the other thing we can't forget is on the Mulsanne straight, it is a road. We've talked a lot about sort of the hump in the road where the line runs down the middle, and where we saw the action between the Peugeot and the Audi, it was actually across that line as well. And you could even see the Audi getting loose as he was trying to pass the Corvette. So that makes that move even crazier. That move the Peugeot's just pulled on him. I don't know. I'm beside myself with that.
I'm right with you.
It's not what you expect to see from a professional.
But again, you know, Liz's viewpoint is that of a driver. Ours is of fans. You know, we want to see a clean race. We want to see a close race. I mean, my God, we have got a close enough race.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
there is nothing in this. There is a minute between the lead cars after 22 hours of racing. We don't need it to be, you know, artificially enhanced, because these guys, again, there are still pit stops to be taken. There are still fuel strategies to come into play. We don't need anybody to be really, you know, queering the pitch. We have got a great race. Let's keep it as a great race.
And the race, let's also talk about the GT category again. When Tommy Milner came out of the pit, so his last pit stop about 20 minutes ago, he was about 10 seconds or 10 or 11 seconds ahead of Tony Vielander in the AF Corse number 51 Ferrari. That gap has been extended now to over 20 seconds. So Tommy Milner is making hay here and pulling away from the Ferrari.
A point has been made that there was a driver earlier on that was excluded for not giving sufficient leeway to a faster car when it was coming through, and the fact that
causing it to have a massive accident.
Yeah, that was Mike Rockenfeller's accident. Now, again, you know, we've got different views on that. I wouldn't say necessarily it was entirely 100% in one direction, but the race stewards have decided that. He impeded a faster driver, in that case, you know, one of the Audis, and as a result there was a major accident. Maybe only if there's a major accident you're determined to have impeded somebody, but again, you know, you know, the only thing we want in any sport is for the rule to be universally applied equally to all competitors, whether you're a multi-millionaire, whether you're a 16-year-old rookie, whether you've won it 23 times, whether you've never been here before. It's got to be the same for everyone, and that's all we want.
Well, let's look at it this way. That was one of the biggest accidents Le Mans has seen in, what, 15 years? At least, you know, 10 years. It was a huge accident, and I think my personal opinion is I don't think the race directors felt they could be shown not to do anything about it. I think they had to do something major. I think for motorsport they had to do something major. You know, I think there are two ways about it. Having been a driver, I think, frankly, I do think that you know, the GT car should have been using his brain and noticed what was going on. But at the same time, you know, it's a racing incident. But the accident was so large, I think the ACO felt they had to do something. That's my personal opinion, but we all feel different ways about it. Stay with us. We'll be back with you very soon, live on Eurosport.
Nissan GT Academy presents Lucas Ordonez, from video games to Le Mans 24 Hours.
From the moment you start your journey to the adventure it becomes, from the unique culture to the discovery of friends, from the first look at the past to everything Romania has to offer. Romania. Explore the Carpathian Garden.
Days in the French Alps, 1,000 kilometers of switchback cycling, including 4 mountaintop finishes. They call it the dress rehearsal for the Tour de France. No wonder. Today at 15:30, the final stage of the Critérium du Dauphiné, live on Eurosport.
We have an hour and 36 minutes of the world's greatest endurance motor race to go, and the Peugeots are in second, third and fourth position, but the remaining Audi in this race, car number 2 you're watching now as he exits from the Arnage corner, is in the lead of the race. We have got an hour and 36 minutes of racing on one of the fastest, most demanding racetracks in the business. We've got 4 cars that can easily win the race on different fuel strategies, possibly on different tyre strategies. We've got capricious weather that has drizzled, spat, rain, stopped and is coming and going, and still we have got a phenomenal motor race. Not one of the top 4 cars is outside of a 2 or 3 second bracket in lap times at the moment. They are all going absolutely hell for leather for the checkered flag. I'm Martin Haven, joining me Jeremy Shaw and Liz Halliday as we count down towards the end of this race. Liz, for the drivers now, as we see the leader coming onto pit road, this is a really critical time. Every single second you can buy on the track could be the second with which you win a near dead heat victory at Le Mans, because this is not going to be an easy win for any of those cars.
It's not. We're seeing a close battle in nearly every class. Well, close enough. Nobody's got a huge owning lead. And I think this is the toughest part of a race. You're just wondering every lap if something's going to happen or if the car is going to fall apart. You start just praying for the checkered flag. I know I've been there before, and you're just hoping it'll come every lap you do.
And for the first time in a race, the Audi car number 2 has done 12 laps between its pit stops. So that means that all that means is that at its final stop, which will be in about 40 minutes time, it will take on a little bit less fuel. And there's another reason why Lotterer was being a little bit cautious out there. When you're being cautious, you're turning laps almost half a minute away from your fastest lap times. You're going to use less fuel. We've heard it said all the way through the race that Audi was kind of marginal between 11 and 12 laps. They didn't want to risk trying to go 12 laps in case they ran out, so they were running 11, but therefore not quite having to take on a full tank of fuel when they made a pit stop. This time they've used that 12 laps.
Now, having suggested that, I'm looking at it the other way around. The rain slowed the pace of the Audi just enough.
Exactly.
Rather than Lotterer backing off to save the fuel, the rain forced him to back off and handed Audi maybe the third of a lap extra fuel it needed to stretch it out that way. We talked a few minutes ago about them not panicking, them being cool as ice. Boy, that is cool. They will have calculated to the gram how much fuel remained, Liz. Yes, you are good to go. box next lap. Next lap. What a great word to hear.
Well, I think they've been very clever with their tire choices as well. They didn't panic in the wet. You know, Audi will have their own little weather system going on there. They'll know exactly what's happening and be planning for the rest of the race. I think they sort of assumed and also hoped that the rain wouldn't get any heavier, and they said, right, we're going to leave him out there in slick tires. We'll gain us that little bit extra in case the others change. And like you say, I think the rain has gone into their favor a little bit by being able to slow with the rest of the field slowing. They've gained that extra lap, and it's going to be interesting to see where we get to at the end.
Well, now, if it's done that for Audi, has it done that for any of the Peugeot? Are they going to be able to somehow creep even further on their fuel?
Doesn't matter, because they still have to do 2 more fuel stops in any case to get to the end of the race. They're right on the limits now. They've been stopping every 40 minutes thereabouts, and the schedule they have, they will need their final pit stop with just about or just under 40 minutes to go.
We're now in the final Grand Prix distance, so the distance that they're covering in Montreal this afternoon, that is what stands between maybe this car number 2, and victory at Le Mans. And my goodness, you know, this race, Marino Franchitti's just been on, who was hoping to be here with Highcroft. Their hopes were dashed. He's not even here, but he knows, like everybody else who comes here, how capricious a mistress this race is. It is so cruel, it is so heartbreaking. For so many drivers, there will be the depths of despair or a bit of an ennui at the end of it, just fatigue the overwhelming result. But for a few, and for a few members of the few select crews that'll get to stand on the podium, the jubilation, the joy, the unrestrained relief of the thing is what makes you come back every year.
And wouldn't it be amazing if Audi could still win this after what they've been through? The huge accidents they've experienced. I don't think I've ever known a team with 2 cars to have accidents on that magnitude in one race, and not that long after each other. They were probably only just redeeming themselves after Allen's crash when it happened to Rockefeller. And you know, they're such a professional team. I'm sure they all pulled together and went, right guys, we've got 1 car left, let's win this thing for all of our teams, for all 3 of them. And I think that's what we're seeing now. They are literally going for broke. They've planned every ounce of this race down to the wire. I'm sure they know exactly how many liters will be left in the tank when they come through the checkered flag. And frankly, I'd love to see them win it after the day that it's been.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Lotto just making that pit stop, when he rejoined the track, he was still 18 seconds ahead of Simon Pagenaud, who still owes us a pit stop.
Well, Audi number 2 started as the fastest car in qualifying, don't forget. Audi said officially that no, of course, it was all about Sunday's result. It was all about the race setup, as one of our front runners in GT comes in. Third place BMW, the remaining BMW, the 56 car of Andy Priaulx and his crew, and it's Joey Hand at the wheel of that car. And with an hour 30 to go, they will surely need 1 more stop. I would imagine they will try and keep Joey in the car to the end. The GT class being led by Tommy Milner in the remaining Chevrolet CompuWare Corvette after the 74 car was crashed out. Second place, Giancarlo Fisichella, that's just left the pit lane. The 51 AF Corsa 458 Italia Ferrari, and that car was the quickest thing in practice and is still going at a really ferocious pace. And the gap between first and second in GT, 1:58. So that again is a battle right to the checker.
Well, they've just deployed the F1 driver to finish the race, and I think they'll be hoping that he'll pull out some of that speed they have faith in him to do. And Tommy Milner in the car, looks like he's probably going to finish this race. How amazing would it be for Tommy to win at his very first Le Mans? I mean, that would just be incredible. I can't even imagine that myself, but it's been a real...
Tommy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he raced here before.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was his first.
No, it's his second, I think.
You sure?
Yeah, fairly sure.
Well, whatever.
He raced here in 2007.
Oh,
it's
I
been a
stand
while,
totally corrected. Well, never mind. It'd be great anyway.
We talked to his
awesome
dad, Tom, yesterday, and he will be a very happy dad. I mean, a proud dad. If his son gets to stand on the podium at Le Mans is one thing. If the Corvette team end up on the top step of the podium, big Tom Milner is going to just explode. He's going to explode in floods of tears, as probably we all will at the end of this race, no matter what happens.
He was saying how important it was for him to, be selected to drive in the Corvette car, and to be proud to be an American really in that car. He was feeling very emotional about it when he was on site with us earlier. So definitely it would be a really big finish for them.
So let's take a look a little further down the classes, because as we see them coming across the screen, you see the overall classification. We've talked about the overall leader, André Lotterer for Audi, ahead of Simon Pagenaud of Peugeot and Nick Minassian of Peugeot. The best of the petrol engine cars is the number 12 Rebellion Lola, and that is currently in 6th position with Jeroen Bleekemolen driving ahead of the all-Belgian crew of the Lola Aston Martin, and it is Michel Martin who is at the wheel of car number 22. Leading the LMP2 class, still in 8th place overall, Olivier Lombard, who has really flagged himself up, Jeremy Short, as a massive hero in that 41 Greaves Motorsport Zytek, because we didn't know a lot about him before. He's a young driver, and my goodness, he has really shone that car. Still leads in the LMP2 class. A very good, partly amateur driver lineup with Karim Ojay, the car owner, in it.
Yeah, just 20 years of age is Olivier Lombard from Poissy in France. He did some Formula BMW in 2009, done some Formula Le Mans as well, and yeah, he has done a stellar job at the wheel of that car number 41. The whole Greaves Motorsports team has been really on their game. They've been very sensible. There was an off, about an hour or so ago, when who was driving the car then? I think it was Tom Kimber-Smith, wasn't it? Shortly after a pit
got caught out in the rain, didn't he, at the Dunlop curves? No damage done.
But they brought that car into the pits, had a good thorough check over, took it back into the garage, get all the gravel out of that car, and then send him back on his way.
Well, we are going to continue to run down the order. In the GT Pro class, Tom Milner in the Corvette from Giancarlo Fisichella, the Grand Prix driver of the Grand Prix distance, to try and win this for Ferrari, and Joey Hand third in the BMW, the remaining BMW. In the GT Amateur class, again, it's Corvette at the wheel, at the helm rather, Julien Canal at the wheel of the number 60 car. That is the yellow and black and red car run by Labra Competition, different from the yellow and black car of the factory Pratt & Miller team. Jean-Philippe Belloc, though, not far behind, on the same lap, 2.5 minutes between them in the battle for the GT Am class. More to come from Le Mans. Back live to Le Mans, looking at the car that is current, hunting down the GT class leader, car number 51, Giancarlo Fisichella at the wheel, and he is charging after not this BMW, which is third in the GT class, but after the Corvette that leads it. And for Belgian fans, Maxime Martin, I beg your pardon, not Michel Martin, getting my Belgians confused. Well, at least I didn't come out with Michel Trollet. That would really have been showing. Oh, giving it away.
Hey, don't worry, I forgot Tommy Milner had done Le Mans, so we're all showing our tiredness, I think, now.
Great little stat from a Ginetta fan that Tommy Milner shared a Panos, a Team LMT Panos in 2007, the year that they won in the GT class, with Danny Watts and Tom Kimber-Smith. Now, both Milner and Kimber-Smith are currently leading their classes. Tommy Milner's car is leading, and he's at the wheel in the GT class, GT Pro, and Tom Kimber-Smith's teammate Olivier Lombard is leading in the 41 Greaves Motorsport car in the LMP2 class. Car number 7, the 4th place car, Marc Genet, has cleaner the windscreen and a tank full of diesel, and off he goes again.
Yeah, of course, Tom Kimber-Smith won the GT class with the Panos in 2006, didn't he? It was 2007 that Tommy Milner shared that car with him.
Now, just apologising for anybody in the UK who has not been hearing us. We have been talking, so somewhere twixt us and you, things have gone a little bit astray. Wherever you are, whether you're in the UK, in Europe, North or South America, Australia, New Zealand, India, the subcontinent, we've had viewers all over the planet. I hope you are enjoying the end of Le Mans. We're into the final hour and a half now, and the car that is leading the race is that number 2 Audi, and there is the man who is still coolly and calmly masterminding the whole thing. He's even taking his headset off now because he doesn't want to let himself be distracted by chatter.
He's cooled down a little bit, and our thanks to dailysportscar.com. We had a sort of synopsis of the interview that we saw Olivier Canel giving down there in the pit lane after one of the Peugeots was blocking the race leader mercilessly on the Mulsanne straight and into the chicanes. and apparently Olivier Kennel said to Graham Tyler that there was no blue flag. Wolfgang Ulrich's response was, I remember Zhuhai last year, and I hope they won't play that game again, because this would not be a nice game.
Well, I'm not sure what TV feed Olivier Kennel was watching, but he was clearly using Arsene Wenger's spectacles, because we could see blue flags being waved all over the shop. The marshals, and that is really derogatory, because the marshals here come from all over the place. They're not just French, they're Brits, they're all, you know, Germans, and they are a real mix of nationalities. You don't just get lots of French posts, a few British posts and so on. They're really mixed up together, and these guys risk life and limb for no money and do a stunning job to keep this race going, to keep drivers safe, and their flag work is exemplary. Passing the old signalling pits again, clear shot of a blue flag there to warn the Porsche, that the Corvette, that there was a quicker car coming.
And actually, as a driver, I have to say that the marshals here are absolutely exceptional, and the blue flags are what keeps us all safe. I mean, we do absolutely rely on them, especially with cars at this speed, with these long straights. I mean, we're over 200 miles an hour. You have to have them, so I don't believe that for a minute. I think that's a cheeky response, and it's, you know, it's a big slap in the face for these marshals. Like you say, they work hard. We've seen marshals out here nearly get run over, just to try and get cars going.
Yeah, so quite aside from anything else, they have spotters around this racetrack. They have engineers on the radios to the drivers all the time. They would have told him that he would have known exactly what he was doing there, no question.
And they've got mirrors. You know it's a prototype.
It's not rocket science, is it?
You know, really? It's a prototype. It's keeping up with you. Well, it can only be one of two cars, and either you're blocking your teammate wildly or you're blocking the race leader wildly. It's not hard to work out. If it's
an Audi, it's pretty clear at this stage which one it is, right?
Well, also, you know the lights, exactly right. Into the garage has gone the number 49 Oak Racing car in LMP2, Shinji Nakano, Nicolas de Crème and Jean Charus. That car has got a magnet fitted that draws it backwards into the garage on fairly regular occasions, I'm afraid, and yet again, the Oak guys...
But never for very long. And it's still running fourth in class, and that has been this year a very competitive class, much more, not much more competitive, but the car's running much more reliably than we have seen for several years in LMP2 with those new cost cap regulations. Another couple of quick notes. Car number 50, we just saw it being lapped by, I think it was the race leader coming out of Mulsanne corner. Number 50, the Gabriel Gardel has just taken over the wheel of that class leading car in GTE, the amateur class. Second place is still the teammate, also with the Labre competition team, but it is indeed a Porsche driven now by Jean-Philippe Belloc. The third place car in the GT amateur class, car number 83, Nicolas Maroc, pulled off quite some time ago, but is now back onto the racetrack, or apparently it's going slow again. Well, but it was a long delay. He did get back on the racetrack, still with 4 laps in hand, or in the battle for third and fourth in GT Amateur over the Robertson Racing Ford GT. But now we hear that car number 83 is going slow again.
Well, at least he's going, which is better than not going. Looking at the lap times, leader Andre Lotre, 3 minutes 27.7. Behind him, Simon Pagenaud, 3:29. Nick Minassian, 3:29. Those are dry weather times, and we're just hearing also that the number 12 car, Neil Yarni, has taken over from Jeroen Blekemolen in the Rebellion Lola Coupe with its Toyota motor, and that has gone back out from Inters onto slick tyres. Jeroen Blekemolen was having to nurse it around the last few laps not to really chew the rubber to shreds and have a puncture, but Yarni goes out for the final hour and 18 in that car in 6th position, and the leading petrol car, and he has got a full slick on. So anybody who now is on intermediates is being cautious about not destroying the rubber.
I kind of show the gap there from the race leader Andre Lotre back to Simon Pagenaud in second place. Here comes Simon into the chicane.
Oh, yikes.
Or straight through the chicane, rather.
Well, both sides of it.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course he had his teammate right behind, and there goes the Peugeot past, having to use all the wide extra side there on the exit of the chicane to get by the number 7 machine. Of course, that is Marc Genet, the onboard car there, so he's in 4th place. Maybe he was just trying to allow the Peugeot to get by him.
Yeah.
Well, he won't have been trying to impede.
I mean, he's been driving incredibly erratically, Marc Genet, for the last couple of hours here. We saw him block the number 2, the race leader, Andre Lotre, ridiculously. We talked about that kind of... Look at that.
Yikes.
That was really a major mistake.
And do you know what? The second place car of Simon Pagenaud had a bit of a heart in the mouth moment there.
Doug, a little bit more than 1 hour to go. I'm sure your heart's it's starting to be really hard.
Well, an hour is a long, long time. You know, we've been here before, and we've had good things happen, and we've had not so good happen. So that's why everybody comes to see. If they knew what the result was, they wouldn't have to show up. We think we're in a good position right now. Tommy's in the car. He's developed a very, very good pace. We've made it through some of this rain without any real issues. So we're going to continue on doing what we're doing. We've got one more pit stop to accomplish, and then move on to the close of the race.
The weather is kind of tricky. I think it's difficult maybe for you to know if it's going to rain or not.
I can tell you that it's almost more difficult in these transitional periods of weather than it is if it were to just come out in rain. In rain, you know you need a rain tire and you go out and do the best you can. Because the track is so large, it can be raining down at Corvette Corner and not be doing anything down at Tetra Rouge. So yes, it's very difficult. We depend a lot on the driver's feedback and input, and we have spotters at various portions of the track that are phoning in constantly with their weather reports. So Tommy did a marvelous job coming through that transitional weather period.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Doug Feehan, the head of the Pratt & Miller GM CompuAir Corvette team, a gentleman, a scholar, and a great team boss. And, you know, win, lose or draw, I think that they're another of the teams, like so many teams who come here and just take on this race, and whatever it gives you, you can never predict it. In the pits is the second-placed Peugeot, Simon Pagenaud. Jeremy, he was 20 seconds behind the leader. 20 seconds with an hour and a quarter to go after getting on for 23 hours of racing. That is less than a second an hour has opened up between the lead Audi and the Peugeot. Of course, that's not the way it's gone, but my goodness, what a real racing gap there is between the top two cars.
Quite astonishing. And 3 of the 4 classes with just over an hour to go. In 3 of the 4 classes, we have 2 cars on the lead lap. I'm pretty sure that would never have happened in the history of the race before this year. So quite
I don't
remarkable.
remember it ever happening.
No.
That's incredible.
And that number 83 car going slow again. We're told a clutch problem. We hear from dailysportscar.com. A clutch problem for Nicolas Maroc on that number 83 car. And now Andrea Robertson at the wheel of the Ford GT is looking here as a possibility to be on the podium along with her husband Andrea. Has a husband and wife team been on the podium before?
I don't know.
I would very much doubt it.
It would be an amazing result for them, and apparently their wedding anniversary is coming up. I'm a little bit mixed minds on this because they've been so far off the pace. I sort of, in the back of my head, I think, is that fair? And they've been like 40 seconds off the pace for most of the race. But it's an endurance race. They've kept it out of trouble. They've not had any issues. So I suppose really
they've had some problems certainly, but they have kept it going, and yeah, that is the key. That is what endurance racing is all about: is keeping the car going.
I think we were questioning if they were even going to qualify to be allowed to race. They were so slow. So
But they did qualify.
They did, and they're here and they're doing the job. So I suppose if they, fair play to the team if they can get it through to the end.
Well, that is the first rule of Le Mans, isn't it? You've got to finish. After that, let's see where we are. It's like the Indy 500. Let's get 400 miles in, then see where we've got to. Here, it's let's get 23 hours and 30 minutes in, then let's see if we've got anything left that we can actually fight for. Because, again, you are battling the race, and the weather is changing again. Light rain on the main straight.
Well, this could really mix things up now. We're just less than an hour and a half from the end of this race. Rain is falling again. Everybody's on slick tires now. This could really mix things up. I mean, we could really see the leaderboard change again.
We've got an hour and 13 minutes. There is undoubtedly going to be lots more excitement here at Le Mans. Share it with us. LMP2 leader on the Mulsanne straight here out of the first chicane, heading down to the second at Le Mans as the number 7 Peugeot leading the Michelin X Green Challenge. That's the best economy being shown by cars. Let's get down to the pit lane, catch up with a guest.
Sébastien, de part dans les is so close and the weather is so changing. It's really a matter of strategy here.
Well, it's a matter of luck right now. If it keeps on drizzling like this, we'll probably have a very good chance. Because either we're going to pass them on the track or they're going to have to change tires. Either way, we get out ahead. So we really need that weather to go a little longer than it's probably going to be. But you never know. The Audi is with mediums. On that kind of track, it gets really tricky. So he might as well just lose it. And Simon has been very fast in these tricky conditions with the soft. So we'll see how it checks out until the end.
Since a few minutes it changed a lot because I think now it's not raining anymore.
Yeah, it's still drizzling, but it's more or less, and obviously the margin of operation for the medium is quite a bit narrower with the soft. If it rains a bit more, you can keep going. So it's all about quantity.
Thanks a lot.
Well, rain coming and going. It's dry on pit road, but it is raining on the Mulsanne. You can see spots of waters on the camera. This is our race leader in the GT Pro class. This is young Tommy Milner, the American driver, making his second start here at Le Mans. The last time also in a US-built car. It was in the Paynos, run by Lawrence Tomlinson's Team LNT, in the year that sister car, the sister cars of that car, won the year after the sister car that Team LNT had won at Le Mans. He shared the car with Tom Kimber-Smith, who is coincidentally also in a car leading in the P2 class. Milner in a real knockdown drag-out fight with Giancarlo Fisichella. He's been caught by a very experienced Formula One driver, and the gap between them, well, actually Milner took half a second out of Fizzy on the last lap. Hour to go. That could yet go either way, and the Ferrari has stopped more recently, but does that mean it won't need to stop again? I'm afraid only time will tell. Yet another chip into the garage for the number 10 Orica Run Peugeot. This is one of last year's cars. Nico Lapierre is at the wheel in 5th place. They've got a single lap advantage over the best petrol engine car, the Rebellion Lola, with its Toyota engine of Neil Yarni. In fact, your own Blakemerlin, just getting out of the car on intermediates in all those slippery conditions, said it was very hard even on inters. Their traction control does not work. Not what you want in a tired driver, a tired car at the end of a long race on a slick track. But more problems, it seems, relating to the back of this car.
Well, these are some of the most difficult conditions to drive in. You really can't tell where the track is slippery, where it isn't. We're seeing the surface flags being taken out at various points in the circuit. You know, on the pit straight here, it's looking fairly dry, but I think as you go out towards the Mulsanne, it gets wetter. It's slippery in the Porsche curves, which is the last place you want it to be. And like I say, when it's raining, properly raining, you go into that in the mindset of, okay, it's raining. But when you've got bits of the track that are dry and some of it that are slippery, it's absolutely treacherous. And now that it started to rain again, the last hour of Le Mans, this could really shake things up. And it's going to come down to the driver's skill who's going to come out at the top.
It really is. Last time around, 3 minutes 37 from Andre Locherer was about 4 or 5 seconds slower than his previous lap. Simon Pagenaud had just come across the line at 3 minutes 34, so it's just a few spots of rain here and there. It certainly isn't as damp as it was, what, an hour or so ago.
Well, out comes the Peugeot, Orica team doing a little work on the rear end. Again, may have been a change of the modesty panels that hold the lights at the back. Those have to remain intact throughout the race no matter what. This Audi number 2, the race leader, squeaking around one of the 2 Oak Racing cars that remain. They started the race with 4, still got 2 going, despite the best efforts of the cars to try and retire on the team. But ooh, that's as close as you want to get. Well held in traffic, both drivers. And again, blue flags there being shown by the marshals to the slower car, as they have been throughout the race.
And that latest delay for the 5th place car, the car number 10, the Team Orica Matmet 2010 specification Peugeot 908 HDI FAP, I think is going to put Neil Gianni in the best of the petrol engine cars on the same lap. Car number 12 there with Neil Gianni. He took over the wheel of that car around about 45 minutes ago, and he is, I think, now on the same lap with Nicolas Lapierre.
Corvette leading our GT Pro class, sorry Jeremy, Corvette here leading our GT Amateurs class as well. That's the Labre competition Corvette. That car has really been sort of the benchmark in that class. It's been out of the lead, it's been out of the top 3, but it has resolutely come back in. Gabriele Gardel currently at the wheel of that car, but they've got a really strong driver lineup, and the difference between a pro and an amateur driver is decided by the ACO. The difference between which class your car runs in, you have to have only one pro driver in the lineup,
Yeah, at
and
least
then you're
two
in the amateur
amateurs.
car.
At least two
two
or not
amateurs
three.
to contend the amateur title. And car number 60 there, Fabian. No, that's
50.
This has been
rather.
it's been a clever lineup here, because although they would classify the likes of Gabriel Gardella as an amateur, he's really near enough a pro.
No, I think
or is
he's
he being
the pro.
considered, because he was considered an amateur for years when he was just as quick as the pros.
Yeah, well, he's won too many FIA GT races
that's
to
what
be
I think,
an amateur.
That's right. I mean, Patrick Bonhauser, he was a French GT champion in 04 and 05. Gabriel Gardella, as you say, has won 3 races in the FIA GT Championship in 2005. And Julien Canal, he's come up through the ranks in single-seaters. He raced Formula Renault for 3 years through the early the 2000s, and it was Carrera Cup.
Depends how they classify it then, doesn't it? Because, you know, I've seen a lot of drivers that are just as good as their pro co-driver that are still ranked as amateurs. It just depends on how the classification goes.
And that is entirely down to the ACO. They decide how it's going to work. They make the rules.
They do make the rules, and you have to have won a sort of major championship. Well, neither of those 3 drivers have won a major championship.
Exactly. So I think they might all be ranked as amateur.
Entirely the case. Incidentally, talking Corvettes very quickly, we said that car leading the GT AM class. The factory car is now on pit road. The 73 car leading the GT Pro class. Tommy Milner's getting out. That looks like the final driver change with only an hour to go.
Fabulous job.
So great job by them, and
wouldn't it be great if Corvette could win both classes?
I would think, geting into the car, because I think Antonio Garcia was in before Tommy Milner.
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was.
And incidentally, sorry, just very quickly, I'll round that up. The other car, driven by Ollie Gavin and his teammates, has retired from the race. It was crashed earlier on, but there is a chance to win the driving gloves that Ollie Gavin has used at Le Mans in the Corvette this year. If you want to try and win those, the auction is going to be in favour of funds for cystic fibrosis funds. If you go to grandprixdiary.com, all one word, grandprixdiary.com, running a competition there with Ollie Gav to win his gloves, all funds going to cystic fibrosis. So get over there and see if you can't win yourself a little bit of Le Mans memorabilia. He won't be giving you the gloves that won Le Mans, but he's certainly giving you the gloves that led at Le Mans in 2011.
And yeah, can that car get to the end from here? It's going to be pretty close. They've been stopping around about every hour. It's just over an hour to go to the end of this race. That may be why they've put Olivier Beretta into that car. It's the Ferrari is also going to have to make one more pit stop, so I think it's probably going to be a moot point, and the Ferrari hasn't been going the same pace as the Chevrolet for the last couple of hours.
The pink and black Oak Racing car you just saw back on pit road. Yet another service for that car. It's been oh no, sorry, it wasn't the pink and black, it was the inverse Gulf colours, 35. That's been pushed back into the garage.
And all sorts of problems for that team. They did so well last year here at Le Mans as well. 4 entries, I think, that there this year, which is very, very impressive. They've earned their right to that. But so many problems they've had. They've been in and out of the garage in both cars. Looks like they're changing drivers over in that, or maybe just getting the driver out for now. This could be quite a big, the front's coming off.
Rear deck is off as well, as we ride with the Audi going by one of the GT class Porsches.
Quite remarkable. I think there's 8 of the LMP2 cars out of the 11 starters still running with just over an hour to go. We haven't been able to say that's a reliability for many, many years.
Warning on the screen to the number 83 Ferrari in the AM class to switch its lights on. Now, the last mention we saw of that, it was going very slowly, having stopped out somewhere on the circuit. So clearly it has made it into the pits, had service, and now it's back out on the track. Just about an hour left at Le Mans, and the race is still in the balance. Welcome back live to Le Mans as you exit the second part of Indianapolis, courtesy of our race leader, Andre Lotterer. That sound in the background is some relief in the throat department for Liz Haddon. It's all right, you can have a sip of Coke. I'm not going to make you talk. Just explaining why live television sounds like it's going on in a workshop, because basically after 23 hours and a minute we're in the final hour of Le Mans 2011, everybody, and we have a fantastic race on our hands. 1 minute and 20 seconds separating our lead 2 cars from Audi and Peugeot. And when you sit down later in the week, or maybe on Monday, if the newspapers in the UK give it more than a line, you will find out that this race has had so much more to tell than we could possibly do it justice for. But in brief, Audi has lost 2 of its 3 cars to massive accidents. Nobody injured in them. A slight cut on the arm for Mike Rockenfeller, we gather, in his crash. But their remaining car, the car that started from pole position as well, is the car that still leads this race. And Mark, if you could turn the timing screen back to page 1. In second place, behind Andre Lotterer, is Simon Pagenaud. Third, Nick Minassian. Fourth, Marc Genet for Peugeot, with the year-old Peugeot in 5th place of the Orica team. So Diesels filling the top 5 positions. Neil Yarny for the Rebellion team is in 6th place, and Maxime Martin for the all-Belgian Lola Aston Martin is in 7th. For British fans, the 2 Lola AMR ones, as you'll see in the whole field rundown, retired very early on indeed, pretty much as they expected, but even earlier than they had hoped. One of the Lotuses has gone, a number of other front-running P1 prototype cars retired, and of course those 2 Audi crashes, the really major stories. Enormous accidents, Liz Halliday, for a driver, a fan, a team owner, anybody who's got even the remotest trifling interest in motor racing. You only had to see them to fear the worst, and mercifully both drivers and everybody else involved delivered without any major injuries at all. And that's the big story here. Win, lose or draw, the safety of the cars, everybody's a winner.
Do you know what? I think probably we've seen some of the biggest accidents that we've seen at Le Mans for years total, let alone having 2 of them within the same race and the same team. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. I had to actually take my headset off through Alan's accident, let alone Mike Rockenfeller's, because I just thought, oh my God, what is the result of this? And my hat is off to the manufacturing ability of Audi. I think it's absolutely incredible what they've done to have both drivers step out virtually unharmed from colossal accidents on any level is just completely unbelievable, and I absolutely salute them for that.
Well, I think, Mark Cole, that you will probably... Mark's having a quick chat with Jeremy.
Just kidding.
I think actually that the integrity of modern racing cars, full stop, this is one of the great things that computers have brought to the sport, is the ability to work stresses in unimaginable numbers of directions that would be really far too long for any human being to work out in any realistic timescale. And I would possibly suggest also that an added factor to that is, for the first time Audi racing a coupe, a closed car. It's like an egg. If you cut a hole in an egg, it makes the shell a lot weaker. Of course they work against that with the open car. But having a roof on, again, is that extra little margin of protection. Certainly Alan McNish's car ended up rolling around upside down on its roof and had to be righted before he could open the door and climb out. Tom Christensen's car, I beg your pardon, Mike Rockenfeller's car.
I think he may have rolled as well. We couldn't see it.
Couldn't see. I mean, it did look like a plane crash, but
like
again,
a meteor had hit it.
But
it was unbelievable.
Opened the door, stepped out even before the rescue crews had got to him. And I mean,
I don't think there was a door left. I think he just clambered out of the hole. But either way, he got out.
Certainly on McNish's car, after the violence of that impact, both doors still attached by their hinges. Unbelievable.
It was almost sort of like this little cockpit left, and that's it, which is exactly how all these designers try and make the cars for the drivers. And we were speaking to some members of Lola earlier, and they said they design theirs on the same scale and they have to be approved on the same level by the FIA. And I've had a few accidents in a Lola, and I have to say I've been amazed. I've impacted a wall at 140 miles an hour and stepped out and thought, oh, well, that wasn't good. And it's incredible in today's day and age that we can do that.
Yeah,
but many years ago it would have been death completely.
But there is another side to it. I mean, we've had 4 drivers hospitalised during this race.
More than we've had in years.
McNish, Rockenfeller, Mike Wainwright, who had a broken rib.
A few broken ribs.
And also, of course, Horst Feldmeier Sr., who had concussion. Those 2 are staying in hospital for the moment, and Mike Rockenfeller, we believe, is on the way back now. But as we watch the number 2 cars, this is going to be the final stop.
It should be possibly with 55 minutes to go. Yeah,
I think they'll really be pushing it. I don't think that's
have to splash. They're going to have to splash and go.
Jeremy's doing the splash and dash. But we have reached that point in the race where we have had 28 retirements and there are 28 cars left. But a big note and a huge cheer to fans of Ford. The Robertson Ford GT has moved into 3rd in class.
That's just amazing. And I have to say, I'm pretty shocked at that, because they've been the ones trundling around at the back. The times have been extremely less than impressive. I mean, too slow in my opinion. But this is an endurance race, so that side of it doesn't always matter. They need to finish first. First, you must finish.
They got here, and they're going to get a podium.
I know, it's incredible. I can't believe it, to be honest. I can't believe it. But sometimes luck plays into your hands in 24-hour racing, and you know, just keeping the car on the track. Fair play to the team. They've done the job, and it's here, and it's still running.
Hearing from Sam Smith at Lola that car number 26 is going into the garage. Now that must be a typo, because that's an Orica, not a Lola. So
Christophe Bouchou's in the.
He's just left the pit lane.
Yeah, so
these are the cars that are second and third we're talking about in the LMP2 class. No, I don't see what Lola is in a garage. So
we've only got 2 Lolas in the race.
That may be it. Well, we've only got 2 left. Yes, that may be. Don't know. All right, so we'll move away from that. Actually, with so many mobile phones in the last hour of Le Mans going on here, that may well have been sent quite some while ago and only just received. You know, with no disrespect.
Wednesday night.
Well, actually, it might be from first qualifying.
Let's just go back to his retirements. I mean, we have our board up, the board of doom, and our marker of doom, which we've had for 5 years, is actually starting to run out. So this just shows how bad it's been.
It's been worn to the rim today. I think we're going to need a new one.
It's not just 28 retirements, Martin, is it? It's 20. It's a lot of those have been accidents rather than mechanical attrition.
Half of them have been accidents, I think.
Well, you know, that's an indication of basically how good the cars are. How good the cars are means how reliable they are. It also means how damn quick they are. They get quicker every year. They get more reliable every year. You know, the days of cars really giving up in the race, largely speaking, are pretty much over. It's quite often you can trace a mechanical retirement back and go, okay, I wonder if that drive shaft failure was the result of hitting the tyre wall in the chicane there, or slapping the wall there, or that contact there. And as often as not, they probably are a legacy of some other incident, because when you're driving around public roads, hell for leather, with 55 other cars full of nutters for 24 hours, it is almost inconceivable that you won't have some kind of drama. I mean, this number 2 car has so far been relatively spared from that, but I mean, the other 2 cars, the 2/3 of their team, have had the most dramatic race endings you could possibly write into a book. So it's still not over in the final hour. But again, look, kicking up the dust as he has to go a little bit offline to get round that LMP2 car at every turn with every slow car. He's weaving there to clean the muck off the tyres before he needs them in the next corner. And again, Liz, you know, every second of the race for 24 hours, potential danger lurks.
It is, especially as we get to these later stages of the race, because the track is completely covered in just debris and tire bits and gravel and everything offline and even online in a lot of places. And you could just see, as we saw the Audi trying to just scrub that little bit extra off, he had to go slightly offline to pass the Signatech car around the side. And because everything is just building up offline, he must be careful that he doesn't come piling into a corner with somebody else's rubber on his tires.
Full tank of diesel in the Audi that time round. Now he's going to take the splash at the end. And Jeremy, that's a better gamble than part filling it now and then going for a long stop towards the end of the race. First of all, because towards the end, when gaps might be closer, you might spend longer time on pit road. But if you fill it full now, then if there is a safety car, then you will save some of that precious fuel. And you never know, a late yellow may be long enough to allow you to extend your range to creep to the end. And we did see for the first time ever, Mark, during the little little period we had of rain, an Audi going 12 laps on fuel, and we figured that maybe the pace had been slowed enough by the rain just to creep it out from 11 2/3, 11 3/4, or whatever they could normally manage, to the full 12th lap, and bingo, they got it right on the nail and no dramas.
They would have taken a gamble if they'd done it earlier, but now they know exactly what they're doing. Ralph Juchner, absolutely clear. 11.9 was the target, 12, okay, they managed to do it. We're going to take a break, back on Eurosport in a moment.
Welcome back to Le Mans, where we're looking at the BMW M3 GT that is third in the GT Pro class. That car currently being driven by Spaniard Antonio Garcia.
No, it isn't. It's driven by Joey Hand.
By Joey Hand. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong car. Antonio Garcia is driving the lead car in the class, the Corvette. That car is in third position, though, in the GT Pro class. Just in front of them on the track, we saw a few moments ago, being passed by the lead Audi, is the battle for 4th and 5th in the LMP2 class. Shinji Nakano in the Oak Racing car number 49, and Ben Collins, the former Stig, at the wheel of the RML HPD. That car had a turbo change in the night and is still running strongly. There is the Ferrari that was on pole position in the GT Pro cars. And Giancarlo Fisichella in for the last hour and 45 minutes of the race, trying to catch the Chevrolet Corvette that leads the gap. 1 minute 15. He's taken 5 seconds out of Antonio Garcia in the last couple of laps. But in 45 minutes to get a minute back, okay, he's going quicker. Maybe a tough ask. Traffic may help him. Traffic may equally hinder him on the next lap, Liz.
I think he would really struggle to catch Antonio. I mean, Antonio is very, very quick indeed, and he's not going to slow down at any time. So I think, you know, no matter how hard Fisichella pushes it, I really don't think he's going to be able to catch him in 45 minutes. If we had 2 hours, then I'd say, oh, maybe, but I don't think we're going to see Antonio let up. And he's not taking enough out of him. He's only taking 2 seconds a lap. Or no, not even this lap. Antonio was quicker this last lap by 2 seconds. So I don't think it's going to happen. I just need to keep it tidy, and I think Corvette could win this.
Here is the lead Corvette, and Tommy Milner handed it over for the final stint to its current driver, Antonio Garcia. And Garcia, as you rightly say, he's nobody's mug. He's a very quick driver, and you know, he knows who to trust and who not to trust. For instance, when Thomas Enger thoughtfully offered to take Antonio's convertible Aston Martin Vantage round the Nordschleife gently a couple of years ago, Antonio was wise enough to suggest that actually maybe he wouldn't let him. So, you know,
that's probably clever.
Yeah, definitely no flies on him. Looking at the LMP2 33 car, the Level 5 Motorsport car, again, had trouble early on. They seem to have shaken off those woes. And that car currently lying in a podium 3rd position in the LMP2 class. It's going to be a great result for the US team.
Yeah, just looking at the Corvette thing again. Do you remember 2006 when the C6R finished 4th overall behind the LMP1 Pescarolas and ahead of all the LMP2s? They've been coming, this is their 27th time at Le Mans. First came here in 1960, of course, the Cunningham Corvettes, and this is going to be big, isn't it? It's 10 years, isn't it, since they had their first win here.
Well, winning these 2 classes today could be the reign of Corvette coming back into play. Last year it wasn't quite there, but they could be back now.
9:08. Marcel, 15 minutes to go. I'm sure it's really hard now.
Yeah, for me at the moment it thinks like the watch is stopped. I always look to my watch and it's still looking not finished at all. And I pray that it's stay like that. And we know the car is still good, in good shape. Andre is doing a really good job. It's amazing. He's almost now 3.5 hours in the car. He will be out 4 hours in the car when it's got finished, and under this condition it's amazing work from him.
I'm sure it's quite difficult to stay focused with the massive accident we saw in the beginning of the race. Your car is going good, but for your head it's maybe a bit difficult.
Yeah, first I have seen the pictures, sure you are shocked, and we all are happy that nobody gets hurt and everyone is in good shape. And after that, okay, you say, okay, we know why it happens. So it was, you know, you feel more unsafe when you don't know what happened. But this is everything is another issue to discuss. But our car really works well, and we were focused for trying to win now this race.
It's an incredible race, really tight between the Peugeot and Audi.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think nobody was expected. I was expected that it was tight, but never that tight. And at the moment, you know, my heart, I'm close to a heart attack, and I just run around and don't know where I have to go.
Martin, we talked to Marcel Fast about 2 hours ago, and he told us then that he felt he talked to the team. He said, I've done my stint, I've done enough. We're going to give Andre Lotter the chance to take this car to the finish, and that's what is happening.
And as he says, you know, I keep looking at my watch going, is it not finished yet?
Yeah, I know the feeling.
And at the far end of the pit lane, for Peugeot as well, going, no, don't finish yet, don't finish yet. Give us time for something to happen. And, you know, what might happen? It might be a safety car that closes up the field to literally nose to tail. It might be a rain shower. It might be any number of incidents, something that holds up the Audi. The gap first to second again. 40 minutes remaining of the race. 24.5 seconds first to second. Andre Lotter's last lap, 3:29.5. Simon Pagenaud in second, 3:28.2. So again, the gap just seesawing a little, but it's around that 24-25 second mark, has been, but pit stops remain. and Jeremy Shaw remains convinced that Peugeot still owes us a pit stop in second, and Audi will still have to stop in first, and there are Peugeot men getting ready on the pit apron. No, nobody's going for fuel, nobody's going for tyres rather, nobody's going for driver change. It's going to be fuel fill to go, and only what you need to get to the end of the race.
Yeah, Jeremy's absolutely right. They've never been more than 2 pit stops apart, and they're on 27 Pagano at the moment against Lotterer's 30. Incidentally, Jeremy's just reminded me, Lotterer took the car over at 11:20 this morning, so by the end of the race he would have been in that car for 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Wow, so that they've literally calculated that down to the line, definitely. We've also got the leader of LMP2 in the pits right now. It does look like a standard stop, and sounds like we're about to go down to the pits for an interview with Stefan Sarrazin, and we can see what his thoughts are on the current battle that's going on between Peugeot and Audi.
Well, while we wait for that, the three Audis, the three Peugeots rather, continue to pound round. This is the car in second place, the red mirrors on the top of the wing with Simon Pagenaud, and he is the man who is really the only one who could win this race at the moment for Peugeot. And there's only one way he's going to do it, and that's the way that he has made a star of himself in sports car racing, which is by welding the throttle pedal to the floor and wrestling the thing round towards the front of the field. He's had some stellar drives in sports cars, in prototypes in the American Le Mans Series and over in Europe, and this is again another grade A performance from the Frenchman. Whether he's over here called Simon Pagenaud or whether he's in the States called Simon Pagenaud, he knows the value of getting the words right, but he also knows the value of driving the car right. And at the moment, his is the hope that Peugeot have as the 7 car comes onto pit road for its final fuel stop. Let's catch up with Sébastien Bourdais.
Stefan, it's an incredible battle since hours now. It seems that it's all matter of strategy and stops. What could you expect for this end of race?
Yeah, it's very close. In terms of performance, we are very similar at Audi. So it's only strategy, but at the moment they put fuel and tires like us. So at the end it will be a few seconds. The victory will be just for maybe 5 seconds, I don't know, but very close.
You still have one stop to do, and then also, would you expect some rains maybe?
No, rain is finished, but Simon stopped just now, so now he's okay. And they need to stop one time, and in my car, we need to stop one time also.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, well spotted. Sébastien Bourdais has left his glasses at home and as a result looks incredibly like Stefan Sarrazin. I can only go on what we're told. The last interview we were told was with Hugh Masekela, so, you know, really make of that what you will. And on that bombshell, let's get
just checking that everyone's paying attention, right? How well do you know your drivers?
Yeah. So yeah, you can see who it was. It was
Nick Manassi.
Martinet. So well placed. Look at the gaps between the cars. You can see the total pit stops time, 32 minutes and 47 for Jost Team Audi, 33 minutes and 26. That is the time they have spent on the pit road, despite making 3 less stops. So for the first time really in their Le Mans history, huddle, 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 the Audi boys have not gone for longest range. They have done something else that ends up with what their prime concern is, spending most time on racetrack, least time in pit lane. And somehow they've done it again by going shorter on fuel, which is against what us doofuses normally think would be the way of going.
And it seems like all of those teams are going to need to pit again before the end. So we were sort of wondering if maybe there'd only be Audi stuck with a splash and dash or how that was going to work, but it does appear they're all going to need to come into the pits. So I think we're going to see this come down to the 24-second gap that they've got there, right down to the wire, and it's going to all come down to how tidy the pit stops are as well.
Well, this again, you know, 40 minutes remaining. The Audi team, of course, it's only one crew that is still working on the cars, crew of car 2. The Peugeot team all there, 3 cars still remaining, and next door as well is the Orica team running their 4th Peugeot. They are racked up behind the Audi, but it's down to this one man, Andre Lotterer, who's racing still on a Japanese license, which is where he's done most of his racing most recently. It's down to him to bring the car home with the lead of the race. And we will rejoin with our live coverage to the flag to see if he can pull off a remarkable win. What a time to come back to Le Mans while we're away on break. Both the lead cars pitted. The Audi of Andre Lotterer stopped for its final fuel stop. He stayed on board. Crucially, it was given tyres. Those tyres had already done 5 stints. In the Peugeot of Simon Pagenaud, it was just fuel. Surely that should have allowed the Peugeot to come in to leave the pits in front, but no. Incredibly, the gap was enough that the Audi team turned around car number 2. It went out still in the lead of this race. 36 minutes to go.
7-second gap
A
now.
7-second margin down from 34 seconds, but he's got new boots on the Audi, and that means that Andre Lotterer has one slender advantage over Simon Pagenaud in 2 of the most closely matched race cars that we have ever seen. Peugeot may just, with that decision not to take tyres, have cost themselves a chance to win Le Mans, but conversely, Audi, by going with those tyres, could have risked putting their car in second position. And Mark Cole, that might have been, again, a decision, you know, that really swung the race. They're so cool, calm and collected, these teams. Audi knew they just had time to do it.
That wasn't planned. That wasn't a planned tyre stop, was it? They needed splash and dash for fuel, but they'd have taken tyres on the previous time. Why?
No, it hadn't.
Why risk the race?
It hadn't. Those tyres had been on a long time, and he was being caught, and it's the last half an hour of the race, so they had enough of margin. He had a 34-second gap, and it doesn't take 34 seconds, even with 2 guys, to put tyres on. Bearing in mind, both cars are going the same distance. They needed the same amount of fuel, so the fuel stop would take the same time. Audi calculated the 34 seconds was enough to get those tyres on, and if you can start on fresh tyres, ask Sebastian Vettel at Monaco, you've got a chance.
And I think they must have just, as a team, said, come on guys, this has got to be the best pit stop you've done in the entire race, because it is literally down to the wire. We've got now, it's a 6.7 second gap between these 2 cars. Have we ever seen a 24-hour this tight right at the end? I'm sure we have, but gosh, I don't remember.
Well, we're going to get as close a finish perhaps as a formation finish between teammates, but from deadly adversaries. 2 different cars, 2 brand new racing cars this season. Closest ever margin, the GT40 and the 908 was how much, Chris? 2 seconds. Okay. Wow. The last genuine, it was a double change of lead on the last lap of Le Mans.
120 metres.
And what year was that?
That was 1969.
So it's been a while.
It has been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We're ready for some action again.
Not in my memory.
no, certainly not in mine.
No, indeed. So Andre Lotterer then, after that last flurry of pit stops for the lead pair, has the lead in Audi number 2. But again, half an hour remaining, and Liz still, 40, 30 cars out there on track, 28 cars, some going quickly, some going less quickly. So, as we've said before, drama potentially at almost every juncture.
The pressure is absolutely on to the maximum for these front 2 drivers. They're going to need to be foot perfect in traffic, no mistakes, and be absolutely on it every single lap. I think both drivers are going to be pushing harder than we've maybe seen them push the entire race, because everything is at stake now. We're down to the last 32 minutes of Le Mans, 24 hours of absolute sprint racing we've seen, and we are possibly going to see the biggest sprint of all now in these last 32 minutes.
Well, we have a battle. We've had a battle on our hands since just after midnight last night. Just 1 Audi in the battle against 3 Peugeot. And during the night, 4 Peugeot, of course, with the Oreca year-old car, their backstop. But that's not really been a feature because of its lack of pace compared to the newer, more aerodynamic cars, which they're having to use this year, Audi and Peugeot both, because of the reduced engine size and therefore the reduced engine power of these newly mandated diesel engines. The gap is 8 seconds. You can see now the Audi flashing the headlights with renewed vigor, because any moment where you're on the brakes when you should be on the throttle trying to avoid a back marker is a second lost. He's only got 8 to play with. This is going to be very, very tight. Andre Lotterer has got newer tyres. Simon Pagenaud has got the chance of La Gloire to win this race for Peugeot. now against what seem like pretty tough odds. So both drivers got an awful lot riding with them, and actually two really exceptional young sports car talents. This is a great drag race to the flag.
I think, to be honest, they're really going to struggle to catch Andrew Lotterer, because he's the one who's done the fastest time in that car in this entire race. He's on new tyres. We're assuming they must be soft tyres. There's absolutely no reason to go with anything but that. It's still cool outside. He's only got a half an hour to go. So this newly shot car is surely going to go faster than anything Simone can pull out of the Peugeot. But we'll certainly see the next time the lap times come around. Any second now, we should know where the stakes are.
Well, we see so many Sprint Cup NASCAR races decided on tyre choice versus track position. It didn't come down to that. They had just enough time. Their pit stop 17 seconds longer for Andre Lotterer than it was for Simon Pagenaud. Half of his 34-second advantage, but Pagenaud came out of it like a scalded cat who was doing his first stint and has already sliced that down. It's 8 seconds between the leaders with half an hour to go at Le Mans.
We've just seen Antonio Garcia in that leading number 73 Corvette do his last stop of the race. He's now on the exact same lap as Giancarlo Fisichella. I'm not sure how tight they are in time. I haven't seen the Ferrari do his pit stop yet. Maybe this gap has closed up a bit as well.
Last lap, Antonio Garcia was 7 seconds quicker than Fisichella. Remember, towards the beginning of the afternoon, that 51 Ferrari started to fade. Its pace started to drift away. I have a feeling they might be nursing a little bit of a problem. We thought maybe brakes earlier on, but there was no remedial work. You never know. Engine cover loose on the Oreca Peugeot, making its final stop. This car number 10 is in 4th place. Also in his third place car, rather, 8, Nick Minassian. You're looking at it here. So Peugeot will still have every opportunity to get, at the very least, 2 cars on the podium. They've got 4 options for that, no matter what other dramas may befall us before flag fall.
Right, Simon Pagenaud, 1 second down in the first 2 sectors, but it's all going to be in sector 3. Of course, we know Andre Lotterer's quicker there. He's got more downforce. He crosses the line. It's a 3:28. What's Pagenaud's lap going to be? A 3:29? Just waiting for him to arrive, and how much later was it going to be?
Now, this is very interesting. On
3:31, 3 seconds slower.
Well, there's the tyre. There's the tyre advantage. He can't hold a 3:30, and Lotterer is dipping back in down towards fast race, really fast nighttime race pace. Just being told by race control that because of the exceptionally small gap between the leaders, and to avoid potential carnage, they will go past the checkered flag at racing speed and complete another entire lap rather than slow down and be taken in via the pit lane exit, which is the normal way. What they don't want is a nose-to-tail race where the leader does a massive stoppie at the flag and there is a plane crash on the straight as the second place car can't avoid him. And that's a very, very cool decision taken nice and early by race control.
Again, Lotterer's taken another second off Pagenaud. It's 10.3 the gap after the first sector. That's what it's going to be at the end of the second sector. Lotterer really has got down to work.
Well, this is a very clever decision from Audi, and I commend them for that. They knew what the gap was. They knew where the situation was with the tyres. They took that gamble. Luckily, they are absolutely an amazing crew. You know, hats off to the pit crew, because in fact, the pit crew could have just won this race for them along with the drivers by doing such an efficient job putting those tyres on.
Well, again with Corvette, they brought Antonio Garcia in before the end of his fuel window just to make sure that he was primed and there was going to be no last lap dramas, because, oh boy, you don't want to lose a lap, a race at any stage, but on the last lap, just ask J.R. Hildebrand, that doesn't feel very sweet. Well, the Corvette is in the lead of that class. I've been asked not to mention that anymore, but really 24 hours of silence, not mentioning any cars in the hope of not cursing them is quite a tedious broadcast to listen to. Corvette still leading both of the GT classes with their American products. Well, we are in for a real grandstand finish. 27 minutes to go, and the gap between the leaders, 10 seconds. And again, not a team formation between teammates. This is a deadly stranglehold battle that has been since the very beginning of free practice, guys. We have accepted, and both the teams have relentlessly told us this is going to be one where the blink of an eye is going to decide the race. And in the end, it looks like they are going to be absolutely that close.
And again, this is where the Audi is going to score. They had identical Sector 2 score times, but watch Sector 3 now. When that comes up, you'll see that the Audi will be 2 to 3 seconds faster through the Porsche curves.
Which we would expect anyway, to be honest, because they have more downforce. They've been quicker through that sector the entire time. And coming back to the fuel situation, we're seeing a lot of cars be safe with the fuel. They're filling up a little bit early, just doing their splash and dash early on. And I've just been reminded by Jeremy Shaw the disaster we saw at Petit Le Mans last year, the Ferrari running out of fuel on the last lap, losing the championship and losing the race to Corvette and then BMW. So I think a lot of teams making sure they don't make the same mistake at Le Mans. We must remember, at Le Mans 24 hours, you must cross the checkered flag in order to be classified. It is really important.
And your last lap time must be under 6 minutes. Drama, and again, look, drama there. One of the AM cars, the Matmut IMSA car, looping around in front of one of the Peugeot at Arnage. And again, the helicopter shot through the Porsche curves showed that Andre Lotterer in Audi number 2 was very close indeed in the middle of traffic. There's the gap, first to second. And can Simon Pagenaud actually see the Audi as it sweeps up the hill into the first corner? And there's water on the camera lens as well. Spots of rain down at the Dunlop curve. And I wonder if that's the reason at Arnage, or whether it was just, you know, a knot of cars together. Paul Trustwell always used to have this theory that at night cars develop magnets where they all clump together and you get acres of silence, and then 5 or 6 cars come together, you know, with a little comfort blanket over them. Maybe that's just a huddle of cars that caught out that Porsche. Maybe there is water out there as well. Blue flags waving to the GT cars to let the leaders through. And just again to touch on the 2 GT class leaders, the Corvette with Antonio Garcia, the Pratt & Miller team leading in the Pro class, and in the AM class it's Gabriele Gardel at the wheel of car number 60, the Labra competition car. This of course is Corvette of Chevrolet's centenary, so you know, a really epic moment for them to take both GT class wins at Le Mans were it to happen.
And Pagenaud's going away. It's now 12.39 seconds. He's going away from the Peugeot 1.5 seconds a lap now.
Mark, we've seen Wolfgang Ulrich in tears twice already during this race. If it happens that Audi win this race, it'll be tears for a very different reason.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, now he can't even stand on one foot. He's just jigging from foot to foot, as actually we are as well, because this is real tenterhooks.
Don't film me, it's not over, he's saying. Yeah.
No, it's never
not about
over
me
until you cross the checkered flag. Yeah. But what they've got to do now, Audi has just got to keep hold of it, because it's theirs for the taking. They've got the right tyres on. Peugeot cannot do the same time, so there's no way they can catch them if they hold it together. The other thing we're seeing is that car that's just backed into the barrier was the second place GTE amateur class car. Yeah. If they can't repair that car, this could open up the window for the Robertson Racing car to pull up into second place, which would be absolutely incredible. I can't even imagine. They've just come into the pits.
Let's have a look. That car, the Ford has done 279 laps, and the Porsche has done 295. But as you say, if it doesn't finish, it won't be classified.
If there's room for them to fix it, they've got that window, I think.
They have got a window.
But we'll just have to wait and see.
Didn't look like it would be too badly damaged. It looked like a fairly gentle parking scrape, so hopefully no exchange of insurance details. Red mirrors on the top of the wings of this Peugeot marks it out as number 9 with Simon Pagenaud on board. And all his colleagues and teammates, past and present, I know David Brabham and Marino Franchitti will be wishing him an awful lot of good wishes. Jean Girard, they call him, in the tradition of Talladega Nights. I'm sure if he finishes on the podium here, there'll be some very happy Aussies and Scots back home in the UK cheering him on.
Now, I think it's very possible that they've been in contact with Simon, and he's sort of said, look guys, I can't do a better time than this and still keep the car safe. What they don't want to do is push so hard for the win that they throw away a podium for them at all. And I think when you're this close to the end of this big race, you've got to take into account where the grip level is and what is actually possible for the car to do.
Audi jumped the chicane there, squirreling into the Ford chicane, the last part of that final left-right section. So Andre Lotterer is still finding grip at a premium, even on new tyres, which suggests again there may still be a few damp patches in the air. There's the GT class leader, the 83 car, which is the last car in the amateur class, not the last car on the racetrack. That's the Norma with Philippe Hezebrook at the wheel. Car number 44 is 28th and in last place at the moment.
And Ulrich, I think just be careful passing cars down there at Scotch Corner. You don't want another one there.
I think it's totally theirs for the taking.
Yeah.
They just need to keep an eye on it now, keep hold of it, keep the consistency.
Well, again, you know, we're just about talking about the lap time. Simon Pagenaud, last lap, 3:31. That's decent drive with the race pace. 3:30 this time. That's decent drive pace. But Lotterer, 3:29 now, a 3:27 lap. He is really forcing it. Fastest outright lap of the race was a 3:25 and change. And before that, Lotterer had it at a 3:25.5. So he's, you know, a couple of seconds away from the fastest these things have gone at all, ever.
But Lotterer just balked on that section 1 by those cars going up to Dunlop. That's why he's backed off. Now, if they can pull this off, again, this is going to be very interesting, isn't it? Last year, it's the unfancied outside Audi, if you like, the young guys who won it. And this year, again, Trullier, Lotterer and Fassler, no one would say that was going to be the favoured Audi, but quite extraordinary. They've managed to get it here. Trullier and Lotterer both have done, as Martin said, most of their racing in Japan. They've both been Formula Nippon champions, both been Super GT champions. Marcel Fassler, of course, DTM. What a great combination. They're putting these three guys together. It's just clicked, isn't it?
But I have to say, they have absolutely earned this win today if they get it, because the driving standard we've seen from them has been outstanding. They've really picked up, they've been consistent, they've been blindingly fast. I've been really impressed, and I think, to be fair, they've climbed into this Audi and absolutely owned it today, and they've earned this win if they can pull it off.
And you know what? It will also be a French win, because although Audi is a German manufacturer, Benoit Trullier from nearby Alençon, most Le Mans fans will have driven through or around Alençon on their way down from the UK. He is very much a local, doesn't come from Departement de la Sarthe in Le Mans, but he's still in the same region of France. And again, more cars making pit stops in the GT class. The gap is now out to 12.3 seconds, but again, the slightest hesitation. I talked about this yesterday afternoon. This is Coke versus Pepsi, and the story of their battle, the other guy blinked, and it is still right there. Moments hesitation by either man. Yeah, just phone home, get the barbecue on. Win, lose or draw. That will be the party arrangements. Win, lose or draw. One team is going to the other's hospitality to break open the champagne and celebrate what has been an epic 24 hours of Le Mans.
Once again, Pagenaud faster in those first two sections, considerably faster. 3 seconds he's taken off Lotterer, but then Lotterer will take it all back again in Sector 3, and this has just been the story of the race. Audi's pace against Peugeot's economy.
And really where we see the time being made up or lost the most on this circuit is the Porsche curves, and that's where Audi is so fast. I don't think there's any way that Peugeot could beat that time through those corners. The car we just saw leaving the pits earlier was the number 70 car. That's the second place GTE amateur drive, and we saw that they had a problem on the circuit. He backed the car into the barriers, but clearly there was not a huge problem there. I think probably what the team's done is just sort of made sure the wing wasn't loose and had a little look around. Obviously it was a Porsche, so the engine being in the back, something they've got to keep an eye on, but we're only 18 minutes from the finish of this race, so all they want to do is get there and get through the finish flag.
Gap between the lead Audi and the second place Peugeot is 12.7 seconds. The Peugeot closed by over 2 seconds on the last lap. It's ebbing and flowing in traffic. It's not going to be even as much as 20 seconds at the end of this race. After 24 hours, this is still an incredibly close race. We haven't talked much about Nick Minassian in third, Marc Genet in fourth, but Minassian's crew of number 8 and Genet's crew of number 7 have been really strong as well. Minassian certainly looks at the moment as if he's going to take that number 8 car onto the Le Mans podium, no matter which way you slice this. The petrol engine cars being led by Neil Yarni in the Rebellion Lola. Their 13 car crashed out in the early hours of the morning. Very heavy crash in the Porsche curves. Again, thankfully no injuries at all. Neil Yarni leading that ahead of Bas Leinders in the all-Belgian number 22 Lola Aston Martin. And I think that is now the only Aston Martin engined entry remaining, isn't it? Even the Gulf Middle East car has gone, the Jota Vantage has gone, the two AMR1s have gone. In the LMP2 class, again, let's talk about this because there's a British team leading that. Olivier Lombard, the young driver at the wheel of the Zytek, who seems to have been there almost since breakfast time, leading the LMP2 class in the Zytek for Greaves Motorsport. In second place, the Orica run, Orica of Saela Yari doing the final stint. stint, and Christophe Bouchou in 33, the Level 5 Motorsport new style closed coupe with the fin. That Lola also on for a podium target. Antonio Garcia for Corvette leads in the GT Pros from Giancarlo Fisichella, whose attack is really still on, but he's 22 seconds adrift now, and Garcia is consistently lapping quicker. So the 51 Ferrari is just fading a fraction on the rails in the final few furlongs. Joey Hand third for BMW. They've had all sorts of drama with both BMWs, but that M3 V8 is still in a podium position, and Charlie Lamb and the Schnitzer team will be very pleased indeed if they can get a Le Mans podium out of only their second appearance here.
Now, I think what would be a really big finish is the LMP2 class, actually. What an event that will be for the Greaves team. That's been a really strong effort this race. And also a really big finish for Nissan. Both of those front-running LMP2 cars have been Nissan engines. Not a single problem, touch wood, for them so far.
A lot of wood touching going on.
Very impressive for them to just come charging back into motorsport with such a bang.
Yeah, this is a big success story, isn't it, for them at the moment? And this will only help hasten their return to Le Mans and World Sports Car Racing, I'm quite sure, full time. It's been too long since Nissan were in, it's been too long since Toyota were in. Here they are, they've both got cars running at the end of the race.
Great helicopter shot there as the cars peel off the public highway. That heads off to the famous Maison Blanche and onto these Porsche curves. The leader going by the RML HPD, the car built with 6 all-nighters to fit a new tub and the new components on for this race to make sure that Mike Newton and his crew had a car with which to race. They had a turbocharger go in the middle of the night. That car is still running in the LMP2 class. Ben Collins, the former Stig, is at the wheel, and he will take the car to the flag in 5th place at the moment in LMP2. Again, watching Andre Lotter, the race leader, jump the curbs at the Ford chicane as Mark starts. What all the teams are doing down there, deconstructing the pit lane. He's deconstructing the booth around us. Touch premature. We've still got a quarter of an hour.
Can you move
we've
over?
got all the celebrations to go.
Can you move out of the way, please, Martin? And the crowd then, great expectation here. French crowd as well as British, as always, more than 55,000 British here amongst the 270,000 crowd the ACO told us gathered for the start of the race yesterday. And because of this fight all through the night, all through both days, most of those crowd is still going to be here.
And I think if this is after the amazing race and the amazing finish that we had last year, that the crowd seems to keep on growing, and I'm sure next year we're going to see even more spectators, because this has been a truly epic battle.
Well, with Audi and Bentley, and particularly most recently with Audi versus Peugeot, we've seen two very major manufacturers who spend a lot of money promoting what they do. Remember Goodyear telling me years and years ago, for every $1 they spent on making tyres and running them in Formula One, they spent $10 telling everybody what they were doing. And Audi and Peugeot are very similar. No point racing and keeping your light under a bushel. If you're going to win Le Mans, if you're going to race Le Mans, shout about it. And if Nissan come, if Toyota come, if other manufacturers arrive, then the global impact of Le Mans can only get bigger, and the importance of Le Mans to the teams can only get bigger. The exposure, spreads out all over the globe, whether you're watching the pictures with Eurosport, whether you're listening online with Radio Le Mans, wherever you're viewing. And we have had viewers in from the furthest reaches of the globe, all tuned to the drama here, and it has not let them down. 11 seconds between the leaders, 13 minutes to go. Nothing yet has been decided. We've been here far too many times, Mark Cole, to really start crowning anybody yet.
Yes, we remember well, don't we, Jesus Pereira that year. The Brun car stopped while it's in second place on the last but one lap, leaving Jesus bent over the barriers in tears. But the other big news, of course, is that P2 again has managed to hold itself together, and they're going to finish 8th overall, that Zytek car, compared with the 5th of Straka last year. That was exceptional because the Peugeots all fell out, so Straka found itself elevated. That's about as good as it can get for LMP2.
With how many of the P1 cars we've got left, I think that is about as good as they could get, because the P1 cars in front of them have had a really, really good race. They've all fought hard, they've been quicker, so it's been a great effort from the Greaves Motorsport team. I'm really impressed to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And given also bearing in mind, it's not a brand new chassis. That Zytek chassis has had different engines in over the last few years that Karimo J, because he owns it, one of the drivers, he's brought it here. Now this year, instead of having a Zytek Zytec power unit, they've got the Nissan power unit, and the rules in the LMP2 class for the less powerful of these purpose-built racing cars, the prototypes, do lean towards using a production-based engine, and that has favoured them. So good choice, good reading of the rules by the team, good operation, good installation, and they have run that car near faultlessly. Just a couple of minor incidents, predominantly driver-induced, it has to be said, or rain-induced on the driver, let's be a little more accurate, and they have had a great run. And they have also flagged up a young star in Olivier Lombard, who may have been a little bit off the radar. He's not going to be after this race.
Let's talk about another young star in Lucas Ordonez. What an incredible drive he's had. I can't believe that he'd never really driven a race car 3 years ago, and he's been pulling the same times as the likes of Sohail Yari, who is an absolute superstar, it has to be said, in an LMP car. So I'm actually been blown away by his performance, just the consistency, the maturity. It really goes to show that it is possible to bring someone on from, you know, merely a video game into a racing driver.
Absolutely. And let's look again at the LMP2 class, and that's very much the customer chassis class. There's a Zytec chassis leading, an Orica chassis in second, a Lola chassis in third, Oak Racing's Pescarolo in fourth place, and an HPD, the RML team, in fifth position. Nice work by Jeremy Shaw. And actually, we think 5 different chassis, 4 different engines as well, spread over those top 5 positions. So for a customer market, that's really good news. No one dominant engine, no one dominant chassis. It means you can make a good combination, combine it with some strong drivers, make it work, and that's what the rules need to provide to get lots of good customer racing.
Pagenaud dropped back on that last lap. He lost 5 seconds on Lotterer, and that the gap now 17 seconds between these two cars. I'm not going to say Pagenaud's given up, but I would imagine he's just now going to go for the second place finish, because he knows there's nothing he can do to win. So
what I think is giving up perhaps are his tires, very possibly.
I think so, yeah.
I think he's now probably accepting that it's more important to keep the car on the circuit and not take undue risks. I mean, he's still pushing hard, but I'm guessing he's pushing within the limits of those tires. He's not trying to go that extra little bit more where he may lose the car and hit the wall.
Well, it's his last lap of 32.5 could easily have been just one slow back marker to take him out of the 30s and the 31. So, no, he's not given up. There's 10 minutes left in this race.
3 laps at the best.
Inside the final 10, there are 16 seconds separating Audi and Peugeot at the top of what has been a remarkable race. Inside the final 10 minutes, there is still nothing to choose between them. The Peugeot just of Simon Pagenaud lacking a fraction in pace, perhaps, on an average lap over this Audi of Andre Lotterer, which had just enough time in the final pit stop with half an hour to go to squeak on 4 new tyres, and it may just be that fresh rubber that has given Audi that extra little shot of caffeine it needed to stretch away in front of the Peugeot. All race, Liz Halliday, there has been almost nothing to choose between them. Predominantly in daylight, Audi's been a fraction quicker, predominantly in darkness, Peugeot, and the race has swung to and fro between the two of them. And with 10 minutes left to go, 8 minutes left to go, we still have no firm idea who is going to win this. We know who could.
We've been talking about this the entire race, that really this has been the ultimate sprint for 24 hours. I don't think we've ever had a gap big enough to allow any of the drivers or teams to let up for even a second. Another point that Jeremy Shaw just brought to mind is that in the GT Pro class, we've got 4 different manufacturers occupying the first 4 positions. It's been a very, very long time since we've seen that in GT, and I think that is amazing. I love seeing that. It's about time we had more than just a Ferrari and Porsche battle.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Porsche isn't one of those top 4. If you take the top 5, then Porsche's there, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah,
top
there it is.
4.
Top 4. Sorry,
top
I'm looking
4.
at yes, I was looking at Honda. So it is just there. But I think we'll have to face the facts. Porsche's time maybe is coming, as you said earlier this morning.
Well, they're going to need to do something different. I think they're going to come away from this race saying it's time for us to reevaluate what we're doing in motorsport, and maybe it's time for a change in where the engine is.
It's a long time since Porsche stood on the top step of Le Mans outright. Mark was here with Rothmans, as was Chris Parsons, who's been on our crew this weekend in the glory years of 956, 962 racing. And all indications we have is that not in the very long term we will see prototype racing from Porsche. The engine won't be right out back, but it's not going to be in front of the driver any day soon. because Porsche don't do that. So there's a tantalizing prospect for fans that came to Le Mans in the 80s like myself for the first time. Group C at its heyday, to see Porsche back racing with Audi, with Peugeot, maybe with Nissan, maybe with Toyota, maybe with who else knows whom. Maybe General Motors will bring a prototype race car as well. Who knows who's coming out of the woodwork, but it does seem that Le Mans is likely to get more exciting in the next few years. I think we may need to start bringing beta blockers with us to try and make it through to the end without literally exploding. On board once more, our number 2 Audi, as he comes down into the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight. 6 minutes and counting. And how much now are they all in the pit lane looking at their watches going, is it really not over yet, please? We saw Olivier Canel, the Peugeot boss, wiping a tear from his eye because, like down at Audi, the emotion here is almost unbearable for the Peugeot team as well. Hunter or hunted, it's going to be a big flood of emotion in 6 minutes plus.
Well, surely Peugeot must have thought when Mike Rockenfeller had his crash, they must have thought, well, now we really have a shot. We've got all 4 cars really, if we count them all, that all could take the win. They must have thought, surely we can get it in the bag this year. But yet here we are, 24 hours on, nearly 24 hours on, and Audi is still leading with their final remaining car.
352 laps completed so far by race leader Andre Lotter. He is on lap 353. He'll probably get up to 355 before the end of the race. Lots of expectant faces in the Audi garage. There's not a single person there that doesn't have fingers, toes and everything else crossable firmly crossed. The last few races in any form of motorsport, the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, the Coca-Cola 600 have taught us that even the last lap can be as dangerous, as damaging or as glorious as the first. And there is nobody in grey and red that is doing anything other than holding their breath for the longest time imaginable. And at Peugeot 2, it could still come. 17 seconds separating the lead pair. Simon Pagenaud down in 3 minutes 28.75. The leader 3 minutes 28.76. Hundreds between them as an Oak Racing car explodes on the straight. It is laying a trail of all the way up to Dunlop Curve. Here comes the race leader. Lena Gade, the engineer for that number 2 car, will be on the radio. Oil on the line up to the Dunlop Curve. Oil on the racing line. It stopped smoking, but the Oak Racing car has left all its oil everywhere. Shinji Nakano will try and find somewhere safe to get out of the way, but in the meanwhile he is leaving a slick behind, and here comes the race leading Audi just down to the scene of where Alain Magnish had his big shunt coming down the hill here in the first hour of the race. He's got to avoid the oil, he does, but again for the remaining couple of laps or lap or whatever they have left before the time runs out, that is going to be another potential booby trap for everybody that's still running in this race.
And that gap nearly 18 seconds now.
This is so sad for the Oak Racing car as well. They were not in contention at all, but they've had so many problems throughout this race. The team has kept working so hard. We're down to the last 4 minutes of this race, and to have the engine go in 4 minutes is just absolutely gunning.
Somebody asked us when we were talking about qualifying, who in this race was going to be the hares, who was going to be the tortoise. This goes back to, for generations at Le Mans, when cars broke down, you would send out a fast car to try and break your rivals. Here, Audi are the hares, Peugeot are the hares as well. There is no more sending out a car to break your rivals. If you've got 3 cars, they all go hell for leather for 24 hours.
And do you know what? I wonder, depending how badly this thing's gone, he may try and just hold on to go through the checker flag. There's 3 minutes remaining. If he can keep it trundling along long enough to roll through the finish, then the Oak Racing car will still finish.
You must complete your final lap in 6 minutes. 6 minutes, and it's 6 minutes maximum for the final lap.
If he can eke it out to just come through as the winners go through, then he might just do it.
Might do it.
Well, his lap time still has to be under 6 minutes, so it depends how many cylinders have imploded there. Certainly it looks like something from the upper valve train has met a piston and let the oil in, and it's burning oil furiously. Well, Olivier Canel, the boss of Peugeot Sport, this is not going to be perhaps their most glorious achievement here, but Wolfgang Ulrich, there's still 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Smart man shaking his fingers saying, don't believe it till we cross the checkered flag. Rightly so.
Everyone else starting to bunch up, of course, now, because they don't want to have to do another lap after this.
Ferrari crawling on the right-hand side. That was the 83 car as well that's been so slow, and you saw the closing speed. The Audi flashed by it. Now everybody is starting to slow to get into line astern because they don't want to have to try and strain their cars even for one more 8.5-mile lap at Le Mans. They'll let the leader go by, they'll drop in behind. The Audi, 2 minutes remaining, he's at Arnage already. He's got a 16.4 second margin at the end of the Mulsanne straight. Is that enough to allow him to slow the pace to just take the checkered flag after 3 p.m. Central European time, or must he do another lap? Here he comes, he's down into the Porsche curves. 1 minute 40 remaining. This is
not going to do it.
It'll be another lap.
And he can't slow it because he's got the Peugeot only 16 seconds behind him. He can't take that risk.
He's going to have to go for the final lap. They will have worked on the fuel. They will have known how many laps they might have to do, and they will have fueled for that at Audi. They do not make those kind of mistakes. Through the Ford chicane, a minute remains in the 2011 24 Hours of Le Mans as he crosses the line, and we are now in the last minute of the 24 hours. On to the last lap goes the Audi of Andre Lotterer. Coming up behind him, Lotterer doing a 3 minute 30.5, barely any slower than he's done in the last hour, so he knew he was not going to get inside the time. We are on the last lap of Le Mans 2011, and the gap 15.5 seconds. Pagenaud took a 1.5 seconds out of Lotterer on that lap, and that would have been in traffic.
All that traffic down to Indianapolis, exactly right. So it's not going to make any difference now, as long as Lotterer can keep this car going to the finish. Pagenaud can do the same. They're also looking at Tim Greaves' Zytek car heading for that win, and a double win for Corvette in the 2 GT classes.
And what a finish for Corvette. This will be absolutely awesome. What I've seen is just such a tight battle all the way, and here we see the 2 Corvette cars in formation getting ready to take the checkered flag together, with number 2 car coming around as well, just flashing those lights, hoping that they see him and they realize that the race isn't over yet. I'm sure they will, because these guys are top professionals.
Oh yeah, everybody's engineers will be on the radio going, last lap, the Audi's coming, the Audi's coming. He goes by the GT Pro winning CompuWare Corvette, the 73 car with Antonio Garcia at the wheel. In front of him is the Labra competition car that is leading the GT AM class as he goes by, and the time has run out now on the clock, but on the big clock over the start-finish line, a slight disagreement there. We're in France, I think we'll let that slide.
Now, last year we saw all 3 Audis coming in formation into the finish. Sadly, this year the one lone Audi flying the flag for all of them. But he's still held it together. It looks like they've still managed to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans despite the 2 enormous accidents we saw earlier.
Of course, the clock at the finish line, well spotted, everybody was counting up after counting down to 24 hours. Yes, well, yes, I can't spot these things very easily. Japanese flags flying potentially for Shinji Nakano. There is our LMP1 leader going by our LMP2 leader. So that is the car of Olivier Lombard, the young Frenchman who's going to slot in behind the Audi. He'll be some way behind at the line, because don't forget, the Audi is still in a pucker race. 13 seconds at Mulsanne, at the start of the chicane was the gap between the Audi and the Peugeot. The Peugeot is closing hard. The Audi can afford to take no more chances and give away no more time.
And Dr. Ulrich still looking very stressed in their pit box. You know, we're down to the absolute last couple of corners of 24 hours, and still he's not believing it's over until he crosses the checkered flag, rightly so.
Well, Wolfgang Ulrich may well have trained marksmen aiming at all the lead commentators up here to make sure that we don't curse this race, because for them it has been such a difficult race. 2 enormous accidents, both of which were shown live, and we genuinely thought that we were going to be in danger of losing drivers at the very least in both of those races. And so from the roller coaster of those despairing moments to what in a minute or so is going to be utter jubilation, and there's no question the floodgates are going to open for everybody in those garages. This has been such a tough race, and if you were a Hollywood scriptwriter, this is how you would write it, isn't it? The despair, the heartbreak, the humanity of the thing, and then in the end, the final minute of the final loop, Here is our race win for the car that started from pole position. It is victory for Audi number 2. Andre Lotterer takes the win in the 2011 Le Mans 24 Hours, and the margin of victory will be less than 15 seconds. Across the line comes Simon Pagenaud, who gave it everything and came up short after 24 blistering, heartbreaking, stunning, astonishing hours by 13 seconds. Unlucky 13 for Simon Pagenaud, but the jubilation, that is the relief of a 23-hour pressure cooker. An hour in, we thought that Audi had seen one of their drivers in a fatal accident. In the middle of the night, we thought for a second time that was the case. In both instances, it turned out that the drivers walked away from the wreckage, and now the only car that remained against the mitre Peugeot has somehow achieved the almost unimaginable of staying in the lead and winning at Le Mans.
We've seen the tears of agony for Dr. Ulrich and the whole team, and now the tears of joy. It's been the most emotional race for Audi I think we've seen in a very, very long time.
And unless I miss my guess, Andre Lotterer is going to have trouble seeing down the Mulsanne, because he was weeping as well. And why would you not?
So 13 participations and 10 wins now for Audi. That is unbeaten by anyone now. They're heading straight towards Porsche's 16 outright victories.
Well, remarkable scenes. It has been quite a remarkable race. Not exactly the closest finish ever recorded, but that may well be the tightest podium, the tightest top 4, and certainly, in my memory, the hardest race that anybody has had to win. We've had cars expire, spill out all their water on the beginning of the last lap, and somehow crawl through 8.5 miles with nothing left to give. Shinji Nakano, whose car blew up on the penultimate lap, has just crossed the line, and the last lap time for him, a 4:18. He is in. He has done it. Our GT classes won by Corvette. Antonio Garcia taking the 73 car across the line to victory, and Gabriele Gardel bringing car number 60 to the amateur class win. And for British fans, a big celebration for the tiny Greaves Motorsport team, née Brooke Laddie. The team have been coming here with their team building up their experience and their ability, and they have claimed the LMP2 win. Doors open in relief and salutation between two really great gladiatorial adversaries. Andre Lotterer, the winner for Audi, Simon Pagenaud, the second place finisher for Peugeot. In this race, I think it would be hard to call anybody in second place a loser.
And Liz, without upsetting you, Shinji Nakano, 9:14.
I read the wrong line.
No.
If they are going
I
to
think it's
be
within the race winner, though, isn't it?
If they're going to be strict in the rules, we've always been told in the regulations you must complete.
The team did a very great job. Andre, best lap in the race. Marcel did great. Engineer Lina, everyone. It's just the really team spirit and a really team win, you know. It's the atmosphere in the team is just great, and it just helped to get the top.
En français, Benoît, parce que vous êtes d'Alençon, vous avez gagné juste à côté de chez vous. C'est une joie immense, j'imagine.
C'est vraiment super.
Really fantastic, lots of emotions, says Benoit Treluyer. The local driver from Alençon, just 40 kilometers from Le Mans. Look at it. Look what it means. How many times did he come here as a kid and watch this? And he is now going to have one of the greatest feelings in motorsport, to walk out onto the podium above the enormous crowd here at Le Mans.
Pedro, it was such an incredible race until the very end of this race.
Yeah, it's true. It was very close. Audi were very fast. They I mean, they lost 2 cars, but they had 1 car and was enough for them to win.
When the gap is so tight, what do you have in your aim?
Just try to fight until the end, but they had a more power car. I mean, they were stronger all the way through, so it was a shame for Peugeot, because Peugeot did a great job and lost just 10 seconds, I think.
Do you have some regrets of the race, or you are quite happy?
No, I would like to drive more, because I didn't drive much, but that's the team decision. So
thank you.
Well, tears everywhere. None of the drivers has yet said it, but I'm going to say it. That was one hell of a motor race, and for Audi to come out through all the trials and tribulations that have been slung at them and win a titanic battle with Peugeot, remarkable.
We go, we follow you. Marcel, it's just a dream, incredible.
Yeah, it's an amazing 5 last hours or 6 last hours. I was just thinking that the time stands still, and it's huge. It's just huge. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm such proud of what we have done all together, and it's just an amazing.
I'm just telling you, you won them all. You won the 24 hours.
Going to try and catch a word as well with local resident Sébastien Bourdais from Le Mans, from a racing family, and of course his Peugeot also in the battle all the way through. Andre Lotterer brings the winning Audi through. Bourdais 3 times now a second-place finisher at Le Mans. It must be starting to become tantalizingly annoying that top step stays out of his reach. Well, you'll have to forgive some mayhem, some panic, some chaos, some confusion. I hope you've enjoyed this race even 1/10 as much as we have. If so, then maybe you'll think about coming down next June. Sun or rain, hail, sleet, snow, whatever, Le Mans never fails to enthrall and excite. And this year, the 79th running of the race has been another exceptional event, and one of the toughest, hardest fought and most dramatic battles I think we've ever seen.
Not happy, is he, Sebastian? He's been trying to win this race for 9 years, and there's been huge local banter going on in all the local press about the man from Alençon against the man from Le Mans.
I know, and I think, like I say, I believe Peugeot thought they had it this time.
It's just incredible, you know. It's difficult to realize, but it was a very hard race with a very strong competitor, and it makes the race even better and the win even better. So I just want to thank all the staff, because they did just a great job, all my teammates, and I'm not talking only about Andre and Marcel. They did a great job for sure, but the others who has been very unlucky in the race condition, and we're thinking about Rocky, who is at the hospital now, and they did the job also, you know. Everybody works since a long time ago on the car, and because of all the drivers, all the engineers, we got a very great car, and we won. We are just represent the people on the top of a podium, but it's a victory of all the team.
Thank you, Ben. There in the inset is the other side of that coin. The disappointment of coming so close and being so close and remaining so close. It's a kick in the teeth to be out of this race inside the first hour or two, and Aston Martin Racing know all about that. It's a kick in the teeth to get right the way to the end and then have the car die on you, and maybe Oak Racing know all about that. But for Sébastien Bourdais, the local boy, this is his race. They come to his town every year, and he's just been so tantalizingly close. But for this man, Wolfgang Ulrich, the head of the Audi racing team, he came here first on a busman's holiday in a boys' weekend with one of the men from Audi UK, and David Ingram brought him along, thought he ought to come to Le Mans to have some fun and enjoy himself. Leaning out of one of the upstairs windows at the end of the race, he said, "We have got to do this." And boy, when they do something, they really do it. As a result, they have become the single most dominant force over a shorter period of time in Le Mans than anyone else has managed, even the mighty Porsche. And they continue to produce great race cars and great drama. This is one of the exciting things about Le Mans, the variety of cars, the variety of nationalities, of drivers, of personalities, and inevitably the humanity of the whole experience, the joy, the elation, the heartbreak, the disappointment, and just occasionally, and thankfully these days, very, very seldom indeed, the tragedy of it as well.
Yeah, but the big difference, of course, between Audi and Porsche, which is now called its sister company, is that Audi's done this all in a very, very short period between 2000 and now 2011, and that is what is so remarkable. I mean, they have been so dominant. Peugeot have had one win, Bentley have had one win, BMW have had one win during those 12 years, but here they are pulling it off again against all odds.
Just amazing. I mean, I'm so proud of what they've done, and I think we were all sort of rooting for them after the accidents that happened. But, you know, hats off to Peugeot. They've managed to get all of their cars to finish this year, and compared to last year, which was such a disaster, I think they have to look at the positives from this. I'm sure all they care about right now is that they have not won this race, but truly to have 4 in the top 5 positions is a very good finish indeed.
Absolutely. All their cars made the finish, all their new cars, even last year's car in the Orica team's hands. And look at this, Wolfgang Ulrich. By now, these guys know each other really pretty well. He's not congratulating his own team. There'll be lots of time for that later. He is congratulating the Peugeot team. The Peugeot team will come to the Audi hospitality unit. The champagne will be opened. There will be a lot of sore heads in the morning. Winner or loser, you're going to feel just as ropey come Monday morning if you're in that party. And the winners have hosted it. Audi started out a couple of years ago. Peugeot reciprocated when they won as well. You invite your rivals in because this is about man and machine versus Le Mans. The other machines are a coincidental sideshow, but this year they have been very much part of the big focus.
And finally, 14 minutes after the end of the 24 hours, the winning cars return to the start-finish line in Parc Fermé.
Well, congratulations to the Audi team. Massive congratulations as well to the race engineer on car number 2, Lena Gade. She's one of the female engineers at the Audi Sport team. Started as a data engineer working on the Alan McNish car over the last few seasons. Was promoted this season. Crew chief on that number 2 car, Brad Kettler, who started his Audi association with Dave Mirage and champions Audi North America team and has become part of the Audi Sport fold since then. And those two have been a real stalwart to this number 2 crew. The car was qualified on pole position, said after qualifying that only in 12% of all starts in 1963 has the pole car won. Conversely, the car that started second has won more than 20% of all those races. Well, now the percentage for pole sitters winning has just climbed another notch because the car that started the race at the front finished the race at the front. And in between, for 24 hours, well, pretty much not much happened.
For that team, anyway. Yeah.
Well, for that team, as we always say, for every single one of the 56 teams, there is a 24-hour story, whether it is a long one, a short one, a happy one, a sad one, a heartbreaking one, or a heartwarming one. And we can only do our very best to bring you what we can from all of those 56 tales. And we hope that we have managed to do that to some achievable standard. And now, within moments, the party will begin into the winner's space at Le Mans for this crew for the first time ever.
Do you know what? I think every year we say this has been the most epic Le Mans that we've had. And yet again this year, I think we have to say this one has then been the most epic one we've had for years. So it's just incredible. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next year.
Well, as ever, after 24 hours of hanging around waiting for somebody to win this thing, we finally have the answer. You know, we said right from the beginning of free practice, all the teams told us this was going to be too close to call. Even on the last lap, the lead could easily have gone from Audi and gone to Peugeot. And in the end, these 3 young men have won Le Mans for the first time. Marcel Fessler, Andre Lotterer, and Benoit Chelier. Well, let's look a little bit down the classes. I'm sure they'll give us the graphics in a moment. In the overall class in LMP1, Andre Lotterer bringing the number 2 Audi into victory lane as the winner. Peugeot number 9, Peugeot number 8, second and third. In the P2 class, again, victory for the Greaves Motorsport Zytek. Behind them, the Orica in second place, and the Lola number 33, the level 5 motorsport car, claiming the final podium position. In the GT Pro class, Chevrolet's 73 Corvette won in their centenary year. The 51 Ferrari, the pole-sitting car, Giancarlo Fisichella brought the AF Corsa car home in the end into second place, and the final spot on the podium was for the 56 BMW M3. In the amateur class, in the GTs, it was the Labra competition Corvette that claimed victory. The number 70 Porsche in second place that had that dramatic spin within the last 20 minutes or so of the race. And in third place, the Ford GT husband and wife, Mike and Andrea Robertson. And the question being asked, is that the first husband and David and Andrea Robertson with David Murray, is that the first ever husband and wife competition? I will throw that open, answers on a postcard or a tweet, because I can't think of another instance in which that might have happened. So for them to bring the car here, to bring their American crew over with the Mark VDS team that were helping them out, and to win that race, or to be on the podium rather, their own personal triumph, that's a remarkable achievement for a husband and wife combination and their good friend and co-driver David Murray. Well, the dignitaries shaking hands with the winning crew. And traditionally, in the olden days, when I first came here, marshals used to try in vain to stop the crowd swarming over the pit wall long before there were big debris fences there. Now, open invitation. What they want now is the most enormous sea of humanity onto the podium. What they get is exactly that.
Martin, let's just quickly answer your question about husbands and wives. There has only been one couple who have been in the same car starting the race before, and that's Bob Berridge and Amanda Stratton, of course.
Indeed, yes.
Of course.
Although they didn't finish. And in 1950, Regina and Sasha Gordini, they both finished the race, but they're in different cars, so they didn't actually do it together. Just one other thing to mention, one other statistic here. You asked about wins from pole position. Benoit Trullier is only the fifth driver in history to win this race from pole position. Jack Eakes 3 times, Omni Pescarolo once, Michele Alboreto once, and Tom Christensen once. So that is another statistic to put on his CV.
I'm loving Twitter because they're coming in thick and fast. This year's finish for Kronos Aston Martin is the 52nd Aston Martin car to finish the Le Mans 24 hours. And also, oh, I've just lost it now. It's vanished off the screen. They're coming in so fast. Another great little stat somebody sent me. I'll find it in a second. Oh yes, Audi have now superseded Ferrari in all-time wins at Le Mans, and think how dominant Ferrari were through the late 50s and through the 60s, before of course Henry Ford came and slightly peed on their bonfire and spoiled their party. Well, there you see the two prime movers. Olivier Canel with the glasses there in the centre of your shot, and just obscured by this local Le Mans official, dignitary official, one of them. It was
change your teeth, Martin.
Yeah,
too many hours on air.
Not enough. And there, look at that. It's been like this all the way through, and the tension has been all but unbearable. If you felt any of it on your sofa, then I think we've done a pretty decent job with trying to convey what we're getting up here, 6 floors above the start-finish line at Le Mans. One of the most privileged positions on the planet, from which to work, from which to watch one of the world's greatest ever races. You just saw the moment there where a man's heart started beating and he drew a breath for the first time in about 2.5 hours. Remarkable stuff from Audi, remarkable scenes in their garage, and from the depths of despair, not once but twice during this race, they have come to enormous elation. But again, the fans and the flags of many nations thronging down the pit straight from all over Europe and across the globe they come. I'm sure you can pick out many more fans and flags in the colour of this pageant for the finish at Le Mans than I could possibly run down. Who knew there were so many Greek Le Mans fans? But their flags are down there with the Catalans, with the Channel Islanders, with flags from just about everywhere you can imagine. All 9 Audi drivers who started this year have now won the race. Well, they know where to find the talent, and they know how to keep it. If you give them a chance to win, then they're not going to be hiving their talents off somewhere else. That's a good stat from Jeremy Shaw there. Only 2 of the Peugeot drivers, however, have tasted champagne from the top step of the podium. Let's take a look at this Audi then. You know, the battle scars, the damage, very little in terms of outright contact, but the stones, the gravel, the tyre muck that's flung up on it. You can see the wrap over the carbon that carries the car's livery starting to peel away at the edges. Such is the enormous velocity of these cars down the straight, and such is the shrapnel that gets spat up by other cars that have visited the gravel, that have picked up debris on and offline and fling it up into the path of everybody coming. And for those who may have only seen the dramatic pictures or maybe the footage of Alan McNish and Mike Rockenfeller's crashes in the afternoon and night here, the good news is that in both of those enormous accidents, neither driver badly injured. They will be very sore indeed for a few days, possibly weeks, but they were able to survive the impact without loss of life or limb. And for that, above all else, we are inordinately and enormously thankful as our third place team comes out onto the podium. From Montagny and his crew, now Sébastien Bourdais for the 4th time, the runner-up here at Le Mans. And will he be the Peugeot driver that becomes their Bob Wallach, the man who came so close so many times for Porsche and was never to survive long enough to win here at Le Mans? Congratulations, commiserations, and lots of esprit de corps being shown by the Peugeot drivers here. It's hard to lose this race, really, really hard to lose. They know what it's like to win. Bruno van der Steeg introduces Dr. Ulrich, Ralf Juttner, the principals of this Audi Sport organisation, to the crowd as they come out to take the applause and victory here at Le Mans. And Amanda Stretton just texted me to remind us that she and Bob Berridge were indeed a husband and wife team. That's how long the tweets and texts are taking to come in here. We had already covered that ground, but
I think we said that.
Yes, we did indeed.
We beat you to it, Amanda.
Yeah, we've already said that, way on top of it. And I think actually on that note, I'm sure that it's been since like 1934 since a woman has stood on the podium. I'm pretty sure.
1931 we decided.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. 1931, that's a very long time.
And her name was Marguerite Mareuse, and she finished 7th overall, so probably in her class, almost certainly a podium winner.
Very impressive.
A familiar theme here at Le Mans, the German anthem ringing out for Audi, who claim victory here for the 10th time in 13 years. A remarkable race of highs and lows, of accident and incident, of drama from start to finish, and a remarkable 13-second margin of victory for our winning car. Peugeot finishing in 2nd and 3rd place, and they will receive their trophies. In 3rd place, closest to us from Montagny, his teammates Quick Nick Minassian and Stéphane Sarrazin will also receive their replicas of the enormous Le Mans 24-hour trophy. And if you saw pictures of Johnny Herbert's from 20 years ago, his was about the size of the numbers on the top of those magnificent pieces of trophy wear.
But of course, he never got his, did he? He was semi-comatose after having collapsed getting out the car.
His was sent to him later,
yeah.
Yes, because he was in hospital on a trip. In second place then, for Peugeot as well, is Sébastien Bourdais, Pedro Lamy and Simon Pagenaud, the man who did the epic chase in the last 3 hours to try and somehow haul in the leading Audi. Olivier Canel resignedly lifting the trophy. His car's finishing second, third, fourth, and the Oreca car in fifth place for Peugeot. But they missed by just one. And the trophies on the top step of the podium will go to the remaining, the sole Audi of three that started 24.5 hours ago to complete this race. And that itself is a remarkable story. And the winners, Marcel Fessler, Andre Lotterer and Benoit Chelier. A remarkable race, a remarkable tale, a remarkable win. Well, Liz Halliday, we've been up there occasionally in quieter moments and stood on that podium, and it's a great view down over an empty track. For a driver of any kind, there can be few more spine-tingling moments than standing up there, looking down and hearing the cheers of that crowd after a 24-hour race.
Well, it is absolutely my ultimate goal in life, is to stand on that podium. So it's hard to watch every time, and you know, I think for any driver who's driven this race, it is the ultimate desire for any of them. So as we stand here, I'm just thinking, man, I need to be back in a car next year.
Well, we need to be back here next year, and you need to be with us. The 2011 Le Mans 24 Hours has been won by Audi. A remarkable race, a remarkable victory. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing as much or as little as you could. We'll see you in 2012. And that is it. To everybody who's been a part of the team, the production crew, the pit lane interviewers, and everybody who's been with us in the booth. Too many to mention. Thank you very much indeed. And for the final shift from Mark Cole, from Liz Halliday, and from me, Martin Haven, our thanks to you for joining us. What a fantastic race. Our thanks to Audi and Peugeot and every one of the other 56 competitors here in 2011 for a remarkable Le Mans to remember.